The thing about being underestimated is that people stop hiding things from you. They forget you're in the room. They talk over you. They assume you're too stupid, too tired, or too beaten down to notice the cracks forming in their carefully constructed lies. My wife Claire thought I was all three. I'm Ethan Vale, and I fix things for a living. Not the interesting kind of fixing, like saving lives or building empires. I supervise commercial property maintenance, leaky roofs, broken HVAC systems, parking lot repaving, the kind of work where you wear steel-toed boots and carry a clipboard, and nobody at dinner parties asks what you do twice. Claire, on the other hand, managed corporate communications for a mid-sized tech firm downtown. She shaped narratives, controlled image, spun crisis into opportunity. She was good at it, so good that I didn't realize she'd been managing my narrative too. It started small. Little things you convince yourself don't mean anything because acknowledging them means acknowledging something bigger, something you're not ready to face. 3 months ago, she stopped angling her phone away from me. Not because she trusted me more, because she assumed I wouldn't look. I was too predictable, too safe, too Ethan to ever question her. She was right, for a while. Tuesday morning, 6:47 a.m. Our kitchen had that sterile showroom quality Claire loved. White marble, stainless steel, nothing out of place. I was making coffee, the expensive kind she insisted on, while she scrolled through her phone at the breakfast bar. "You're working late again tonight?" I asked, measuring grounds into the French press. She said, not looking up. "Quarterly review prep. Renee wants the full deck by Thursday." Renee was her boss, Renee Walsh. I'd met her twice. Both times she'd looked at me like I was furniture that came with the house. "You want me to pick up dinner?" I asked. "I'll grab something at the office," Claire said, still not looking up. Her thumb moved in quick, practiced swipes across the screen. I poured hot water over the grounds, watched them bloom. The silence stretched out, comfortable to her, suffocating to me. "That party at Lena's this weekend," I said. "We're still going, right?" This got a glance. Brief, calculating. "Of course," she said. "Why wouldn't we?" "No reason, just checking." Lena was Claire's younger sister, 28, bold in ways Claire had carefully edited out of herself. Where Claire was all polished surfaces and controlled image, Lena was sharp edges and deliberate chaos. They had the same dark hair, the same angular features, but Lena wore hers like armor, while Claire wore hers like camouflage. "What's the occasion?" I asked. "Does Lena need an occasion?" Claire finally set down her phone, reaching for the coffee I'd poured. "She's probably bored, or broke, or both. Your sister's not broke." "No," Claire agreed, sipping. "But she likes people to think she needs them. It's her thing." I leaned against the counter, studying my wife in the morning light. She was beautiful. Everyone said so. High cheekbones, dark eyes, that particular kind of elegant composure that made people trust her with their secrets. I wondered how many secrets she was keeping from me. "You okay?" she asked, catching my stare. "Fine, just thinking." "Dangerous habit." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. It never did any more. She left for work at 7:30, kissing my cheek in that automatic way married people do when they've forgotten why they started. Her perfume lingered, something French and expensive that I'd bought her for Christmas and she'd never thanked me for. I had 3 job sites that day. First was a strip mall in Riverside where the roof had started leaking into the dollar store. Glamorous work. The owner met me in the parking lot, a nervous guy named Phil who kept checking his watch like I was personally responsible for the weather. "How bad is it?" he asked, wringing his hands. "Bad enough that you called me," I said, grabbing my ladder from the truck. "Give me 20 minutes. The roof was worse than Phil thought. Water damage had spread into the support beams, turning them soft and dark. This wasn't a patch job. This was a full section replacement. Minimum 15 grand, probably more once we got into it. I spent an hour up there, taking photos, making notes, doing the mental math on materials and labor. Below me, the parking lot was half empty. A woman pushed a stroller past the nail salon. A teenager skateboarded in lazy circles. A contractor's van pulled up to the sandwich shop. Normal life. Regular people doing regular things, unaware that their worlds could shift without warning. My phone buzzed. Text from Mark Calder, my friend since high school and the only person I'd talked to about the Claire situation. Well, talked was generous. I'd hinted, he'd guessed. "Beer tonight?" I typed back, "Can't, Claire working late." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Right. That one word said everything. By noon, I was at Site 2, an office complex in Sherman, where the HVAC system sounded like a small plane preparing for takeoff. The building manager, a tired-looking woman named Patricia, walked me through the complaints. "Conference room C is an icebox," she said. "Meanwhile, the executive suite on 3 feels like a sauna. We've had 2 people threaten to quit over it." "Climate control," I said. "The ultimate workplace battleground." She didn't smile. Apparently building management didn't appreciate HVAC humor. I spent 2 hours in the mechanical room, checking units, testing airflow, making adjustments. The work was mindless, which gave my brain room to wander into territory I'd been trying to avoid. 3 weeks ago, Claire had come home at 11 p.m. smelling like cologne I didn't wear. When I'd mentioned it, she'd laughed it off. Probably Renee's husband, he was at the office, and I'd accepted it because the alternative was too ugly to consider. 2 weeks ago, I'd noticed a gym membership charge on our credit card. Claire had never mentioned joining a gym. When I asked, she said it was for stress relief and networking. The place was called Elevation Studio, one of those boutique fitness centers where people paid $200 a month to do the same exercises they could do at home. 1 week ago, I'd seen a notification flash on her phone while she was in the shower. Just a glimpse, but enough. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, no name." Just that. I'd stood there in our bedroom, listening to the water run, staring at that locked screen, and felt something inside me go very cold and very quiet. That's when I stopped being the underdog who didn't notice. That's when I started paying attention. By 3 p.m., I was at Site 3, a shopping center where the parking lot lighting had been flickering for weeks. The property owner wanted it fixed before holiday shopping season, which was still months away, but apparently required advance panic. I was on my back under a junction box, rewiring connections, when my phone rang. Claire. "Hey," I answered, wedging the phone between my shoulder and ear. "Don't forget we're having dinner with my parents on Sunday," she said. No greeting, no how's your day, just straight to the reminder, like I was her calendar app. "I remember." "Good. And can you pick up wine on your way home? Something decent, not that cheap thing you usually get." "Sure. Thanks." A pause. "Oh, and I might be later than I thought tonight. This presentation is taking forever." "How late?" 9, maybe. "Don't wait up." She ended the call before I could respond. I lay there under that junction box, staring up at wires and rust and years of neglect, and thought about how relationships decay. Not all at once, not with some dramatic explosion, but slowly, connection by connection, until one day you realize the whole structure is hanging by threads. I finished the wiring, tested the lights, packed up my tools. The sun was setting, painting the parking lot in shades of amber and rust. Families were leaving the grocery store, loading bags into cars, having mundane conversations about dinner and homework and what to watch on TV. I used to envy that simplicity. Now I knew it was probably an illusion for half of them too. I stopped at the wine store on Western, the good one where the staff wore bow ties and asked about your pairing preferences. I picked an expensive Pinot that would probably taste like every other Pinot to me, but would satisfy Claire's need to impress me with her sophistication. At home, the house was dark and empty. Our 2-bedroom Craftsman in Eagle Rock, purchased 5 years ago when we were still convinced we were building something together. Claire had handled the decorating, lots of gray and white, clean lines, nothing personal. It looked like a staged home in a real estate listing. Pretty, empty, temporary. I poured a bourbon, sat on the couch, and opened my laptop. This was new territory for me. I wasn't a snoop by nature. I respected privacy, trusted people until they gave me reason not to. But 3 months of small changes, weird excuses, and careful evasions had pushed me past the point of polite ignorance. I wasn't going to hack her email or install tracking software. I wasn't that guy, and besides, I'd probably screw it up. But I could look at the things that were already visible if you bothered to look. Our credit card statements, for instance. Joint account, both our names, no expectation of privacy. I started with the past 2 months, scanning charges. The gym membership, $199 monthly. Elevation Studio, multiple charges at a coffee shop called Brew Theory, always midday, always on weekdays when she should have been at the office. Dinner at an upscale steakhouse downtown, $247 tarn, on a Tuesday 3 weeks ago when she'd told me she was working through dinner. Charges at a boutique hotel in Los Feliz. Not for a room, the amounts were too small. Probably the restaurant or bar. My pulse was steady, my hands weren't shaking, but something in my chest had gone very tight and very dark. I pulled up Instagram on my phone. Claire's account was private, but Lena's wasn't. Sisters tended to orbit each other on social media, especially when one of them liked attention. Lena's recent posts were typical. Artsy photos of coffee and sunsets, selfies with captions about living authentically, whatever that meant. But then I found something from 2 weeks ago. A group shot at some outdoor yoga event. And there was Claire, in expensive athleisure, smiling wide. Real smile, not the practiced one. Next to her stood a guy I didn't recognize. Tall, athletic build, the kind of confidence that came from being looked at his whole life and liking it. The caption, Sunday sweat session with the crew. At Elevation Studio, our Claire PR. Your Coach Rookfit, Coach Rookfit. I clicked through to his profile. Public account, naturally. Guys like that needed an audience. His bio read, Founder at Elevation Studio. Transform your body and mindset. DM for coaching. His posts were exactly what you'd expect. Shirtless workout videos, motivational quotes over sunset backgrounds, photos with clients who all looked suspiciously similar to each other. Rich, image conscious, paying someone else to yell at them about burpees. I scrolled back through his feed. 3 weeks ago, a photo of himself holding a protein shake, bicep flexed, caption about dedication. In the background, barely visible, a woman's hand with distinctive rings. Rings I'd bought Claire for our anniversary. I closed the laptop. The bourbon glass was empty. I didn't remember drinking it. Outside, a car door slammed. Footsteps on the walkway. Key in the lock. Claire came in at 9:47, dropping her bag on the entry table with a heavy sigh. Long day? I asked from the couch. She startled slightly, like she'd forgotten I lived here. Exhausting, she said, kicking off her heels. Renee changed the entire direction of the pitch halfway through. We had to rebuild everything. That's rough. She moved into the kitchen, poured herself water from the fridge. I watched her from the couch, this woman I'd been married to for 6 years, and felt like I was looking at a stranger. You eat? She asked. Made a sandwich. Good. She leaned against the counter, checking her phone. Always checking her phone. How's the gym going? I asked casually. Her eyes flicked to me, just for a second. What? The gym membership? Elevation Studio? You mentioned stress relief and networking. Oh, it's fine. Good classes. I should go more, honestly. Meet anyone interesting there? Another glance, sharper this time. Just the usual fitness crowd. Why? No reason. Just asking. She set down her water, studied me with that PR manager look, assessing threat level, calculating response, preparing spin. You're being weird, she said. Am I? Yeah, you are. She picked up her bag. I'm going to shower and go to bed. Tomorrow's another early day. She left me sitting there in the dark living room, and I listened to her footsteps on the stairs, the bathroom door closing, the water starting. I picked up my phone and pulled up Mark's text thread. Actually, yeah. Beer sounds good. Tomorrow? His response came immediately. About time. The anchor, 7 p.m. I set down the phone and looked around our carefully decorated house. Our staged life, our beautiful lie. The thing about being underestimated is that people stop hiding things from you, and once you start seeing the truth, you can't unsee it. The next 3 days passed in a strange kind of limbo. I went to work, came home, had surface-level conversations with Claire about nothing that mattered. She kept up her pattern. Late nights, gym mentions, phone turned face down on every surface. I kept up mine, silent observation, mental note-taking, careful questions that sounded casual but weren't. Thursday evening, I met Mark at the Anchor, a dive bar in Highland Park that had somehow survived gentrification by refusing to acknowledge it existed. Dark wood, cheaper beer than you'd expect, bartender who didn't make conversation. Mark was already in a back booth when I arrived, 2 beers waiting. He looked the same as he had since high school, stocky build, buzz cut, the kind of face that had seen things but didn't advertise it. He ran private security for events and parties, which meant he spent a lot of time watching drunk rich people make terrible decisions. You look like garbage, he said by way of greeting. Thanks. I slid into the booth, took a long drink. So, we doing this conversation, or we pretending everything's fine? I set down the beer. Her name's Rook. First or last name, I don't know. Runs a boutique gym. The kind of guy who posts shirtless photos with captions about mindset and discipline. Mark's expression didn't change. You sure? Sure enough. You confront her? No. Why not? Good question. I'd been asking myself the same thing for 3 days. Because, I said slowly, the second I confront her, I lose the advantage. Right now, she thinks I'm oblivious. The moment she knows I know, she starts playing defense. Makes up stories, covers tracks, turns it around on me somehow. So what's the plan? I don't have one yet. Mark leaned back, studying me. You want my professional opinion? That's why I'm here. Document everything, build your case, get a lawyer, protect your assets. Then confront her with evidence she can't spin. That's the smart play, I agreed. But you're not going to do that. No. Why not? I took another drink, choosing my words carefully. Because I don't want a divorce settlement. I don't want to split assets and negotiate terms and have some mediator tell us how to divide our life. I stopped, surprised by the intensity in my own voice. What? Mark asked quietly. What do you want? I want her to feel what I'm feeling right now. I gestured vaguely at my chest. This thing where everything you thought was real turns out to be performance, where the person you trusted most looks at you like you're an obstacle. I want her to understand what that's like. Mark was quiet for a long moment. That's not really about getting even, he finally said. That's about making her see you. Maybe. And this Rook guy? Him too. Ethan. Mark leaned forward. I've known you since we were 15. You're a good guy, maybe too good. But whatever you're thinking about doing, I'm not thinking about anything illegal. That's not what concerns me. I'm concerned about you doing something you can't take back, something that changes who you are. I met his eyes. Maybe who I've been is the problem. Maybe being the good guy, the understanding husband, the one who doesn't make waves. Maybe that's why I'm sitting here instead of being respected in my own relationship. There's a difference between standing up for yourself and becoming someone you're not. Is there? I finished my beer. Because from where I'm sitting, those two things look pretty similar. We talked for another hour, circling around the same territory. Mark tried the reasonable approach. Lawyers, evidence, clean break. I kept coming back to the same point. I didn't want clean. I wanted her to understand. By the time I left, nothing was resolved except my certainty that I wasn't going to handle this the smart way. Friday at work, I had a meeting with a property developer about a potential contract. Big job, good money, exactly the kind of thing I should have been focused on. Instead, I spent half the meeting thinking about Claire's schedule and whether she was at the office or somewhere else. My phone buzzed during the developer's pitch. Text from Claire. Don't forget, Lena's party tomorrow, 6 p.m. Wear something nice. I typed back, what's the dress code? Cocktail casual. And by casual, I mean not your work clothes. Got it. After the meeting, I sat in my truck in the parking lot and Googled Elevation Studio. Their website was exactly what I expected. Minimalist design, testimonials about transformation, photos of beautiful people doing difficult exercises with gritted teeth smiles. The staff page showed 5 trainers. Rook was featured prominently. His bio was a masterclass in empty inspiration. Drawing on 10 years of elite athletic training and life coaching, I help clients discover their strongest selves through integrated wellness. Translation. I'm attractive and I'll charge you money to watch me do push-ups. His photo showed him in that calculated casual pose, arms crossed, slight smile, the kind of confidence that came from being told you were special your whole life. I wondered what Claire saw in him that she didn't see in me. Then I wondered if that was the wrong question entirely. Maybe it wasn't about what he had that I didn't. Maybe it was about what I'd stopped being. Predictable, safe, easy to manage. Saturday morning, Claire spent 3 hours getting ready for her sister's party. I heard the shower running, the hairdryer, the opening and closing of closet doors as she tried on different outfits. I dressed in 20 minutes. Dark jeans, button down, the one jacket I owned that Claire hadn't criticized. I looked like exactly what I was, a guy who worked with his hands trying to clean up for a social event. Claire came downstairs at 5:30 looking like someone from a magazine spread. Black dress, strategic but not obvious, heels that made her 3 inches taller, makeup that somehow made her look like she wasn't wearing makeup. You ready? She asked, grabbing her clutch. As I'll ever be. In the car, she checked her phone constantly. I drove, saying nothing, watching the city slide past. Los Angeles on a Saturday evening, all potential energy, people getting ready to be seen, to matter, to pretend their lives were as interesting as their social media feeds suggested. You're quiet, Claire said without looking up from her phone. Just driving. You okay with this? Lena's parties can be a lot. I'm fine. Because if you'd rather not go... I said I'm fine, Claire. She finally looked at me, something calculating in her expression. You've been off all week. Is something wrong? The question was so absurd I almost laughed. No, I said. Nothing's wrong. Okay, good. She went back to her phone. Lena lived in a renovated warehouse loft in Arts District, the kind of space that cost more than our house, but looked deliberately unfinished. Exposed brick, high ceilings, industrial lighting. Her parties were legendary, eclectic guest lists, expensive alcohol, the kind of casual chaos that people with trust funds called authentic. We arrived at 6:15. The party was already in full swing. The space was packed, maybe 50 people, music loud enough to feel in your chest, conversations happening in clusters like cells under a microscope. I recognized some faces from previous events, but most were strangers. Lena's crowd tended toward the young and artistic, people who worked in creative fields and had opinions about film festivals. Lena spotted us immediately and cut through the crowd. She was wearing something that probably had a designer name. Sharp lines, expensive fabric, the kind of outfit that looked effortless but required planning. "You came." She hugged Claire, then turned to me with a grin that was almost predatory. "Ethan, looking decent for once." "Your compliments could use work," I said. "Where's the fun in that?" She linked her arm through Claire's. "Come on, there's someone I want you to meet." They disappeared into the crowd, leaving me by the door with my hands in my pockets like a teenager at his first dance. I grabbed a drink from the bar, bourbon, neat, and found a position along the wall where I could watch without participating. It was a skill I'd developed over years of these events. Be present but invisible, there but not really there. Claire was across the room, animated conversation with Lena and two women I didn't recognize. She looked happy, relaxed, the way she used to look with me before I became part of the furniture. Then I saw him. He was by the windows, holding court with a small group, and I recognized him immediately from his Instagram photos. Rook. Same confident posture, same calculated casual style, expensive t-shirt, jeans that probably cost more than my jacket, hair that looked effortlessly messy but wasn't. He laughed at something someone said, and the whole group laughed with him. That's how guys like him operated. They created gravity, pulled people into orbit, made you feel like being near them meant something. I watched Claire glance in his direction just once and saw something in her expression that made my chest tight. Recognition, excitement, guilt trying to hide his casualness. I finished my bourbon in one swallow. The next 2 hours were performance art. Claire worked the room, talking to everyone, laughing at appropriate moments, checking her phone between conversations. Occasionally, she'd find me in my corner and give me that smile. The one that said, "See, I'm here with you, we're together, everything's fine," before floating away again. Rook stayed near the windows, holding court. A few times I caught him looking at Claire, and every time she'd look away just a little too quickly. Around 8:30, Lena clinked a glass for attention. The room quieted somewhat, conversations dropping to murmurs. "Okay, people," she announced, standing on a chair because that's the kind of person she was. "I have an announcement." Someone in the crowd. "You're finally getting a real job?" Laughter. Lena flipped them off with a smile. "Better," she said. "I'm officially single. As of this morning, I ended things with his name? Trevor. Trevor, thank you, and I'm celebrating my freedom. So everyone raise a glass to new beginnings and bad decisions." Cheers, applause, people raising drinks. Then Lena's eyes found Claire in the crowd. "And while we're making announcements," she continued, voice carrying across the room, "my lovely sister has something she wants to share too." Claire's face went carefully blank. "Lena, I don't—" "Come on," Lena gestured. "Tell everyone." The room's attention shifted. People turned, waiting, drinks in hand like this was theater. Claire looked trapped. Her PR training was battling her surprise, and for once, surprise was winning. "I don't really have an announcement," she said, voice steady but tight. "Sure you do." Lena jumped down from the chair, crossing to Claire. She was drunk or close to it, that reckless energy that made her dangerous. "You were just telling me earlier about how you're embracing your freedom too." "Lena." Claire's voice had an edge now. "Stop." But Lena was already pulling Claire toward the center of the room, and everyone was watching, and there was nowhere to hide. "My sister," Lena announced, arm around Claire's shoulders, "has decided she's done playing it safe, done being the perfect wife, the perfect employee, the perfect everything. From now on," she raised her glass, "she's single. Go find someone." The room went very quiet. Claire's face cycled through emotions, shock, anger, humiliation, before settling on that professional mask she wore like armor. "That's not what I said," she managed. "Close enough." Lena laughed, but there was something sharp in it, something intentional. I stood against my wall, watching my wife try to recover, and felt nothing. Then Lena turned and saw me. "Oh," she said, voice carrying. "Right. Ethan's here." The room's attention shifted to me. 50 people suddenly aware of the husband standing in the corner while his wife got declared single at a party. I raised my glass slightly. "Don't mind me." Claire's eyes found mine, and in them I saw genuine panic. The careful image she'd built was cracking, and she had no prepared statement, no crisis management plan for this particular situation. Lena looked between us, something calculating in her expression now. Then she smiled, that dangerous smile she'd inherited from their mother's side. Actually, Lena said, and her voice went from drunk loud to clear and deliberate, if my sister's declaring herself single. She crossed the room toward me. Then I'm taking him. She grabbed my hand. The room erupted. People were laughing, gasping. Someone said, "Oh," and made it 3 syllables. Phones were coming out. This was content, drama, the kind of moment that would be retold and exaggerated. Claire's mask shattered. "That's not what I meant." Her voice cut through the noise, too loud, too desperate. "Lena, stop it. This isn't funny." "Who said I was joking?" Lena squeezed my hand, then looked up at me with eyes that were clearer than they should have been. "You good with this, Ethan?" The whole room waited for my response. I looked at Claire, standing in the center of the room, humiliated and angry and trapped by her own image. I thought about 3 months of being invisible, about coming home to an empty house while she was at the gym, or working late, or wherever else she actually was, about being managed like a PR problem instead of treated like a person. "Sure," I said. "Why not?" The room lost its mind. Claire's face went pale, then flushed. She started toward us, but people were in the way, and the space felt liquid, unstable. "This isn't happening," she said, loud enough for people nearby to hear. "Lena, let go of him right now." "Make me," Lena said pleasantly. "I'm serious." "So am I." They stared at each other, and the party watched, and I stood there holding Lena's hand, thinking about how quickly performance can become reality when enough people are watching. Then I saw Rook. He was by the window still, but he wasn't laughing anymore. He was watching Claire with an expression I recognized because I'd worn it myself 3 days ago. Concern, calculation, the look of someone whose careful plans just got very complicated. Our eyes met across the room. He knew that I knew. I smiled at him. Not friendly, not hostile, just acknowledgement. Then I turned back to Lena. "So," I said, loud enough for nearby people to hear. "Where are we going first?" Lena's smile went nuclear. "Anywhere but here." She started pulling me toward the door. People parted. Phones were definitely recording now. This was going to be all over social media by morning. "Ethan!" Claire's voice, desperate, angry. "Don't you dare!" I stopped, looked back at her. She was surrounded by people, but completely alone, her careful image in ruins, her control gone. "What?" I asked. "I thought you were single, embracing freedom. Wasn't that the announcement?" "You know that's not." "Actually," I said, "I don't know anything anymore, but I'm starting to figure some things out." I let Lena pull me through the door. Behind us, the party exploded into conversation, speculation, laughter. Someone turned the music up. Life moved on, instant by instant, everything changing and nothing mattering except the moment. We got to the stairwell before Lena let go of my hand. "Well," she said, leaning against the wall. "That was fun." "Was it?" "For me? Absolutely." She studied me. "For you? That's yet to be determined." "Why'd you do that?" "Because my sister's a controlling nightmare who treats people like props in her personal performance. And because—" She tilted her head. "You looked like you needed someone to throw a grenade into her perfectly managed life." "You don't even like me." "I don't dislike you. I just think you've been sleepwalking through your marriage for the past year, letting Claire turn you into whatever she needed you to be." She pushed off the wall. "Now she knows you're awake. What you do with that is up to you." She started down the stairs. "Lena," I called. She looked back. "How long have you known?" I asked. She didn't pretend not to understand. "About Rook? 3 weeks, maybe 4. She shrugged. "I was waiting to see if you'd figure it out yourself. Glad you did." "Are you going to tell her you told me?" "No, more fun this way," she grinned. "Besides, watching Claire try to control a situation she doesn't understand. That's going to be entertainment for weeks." She disappeared down the stairs. I stood there in the stairwell, listening to muffled music from the party above, and thought about how quickly everything could change. 48 hours ago, I was the underdog husband, invisible and underestimated. Now I was something else. I just needed to figure out what. I didn't go back to the party. I walked to my truck, drove home through Saturday night traffic, and sat in our driveway with the engine off and my hands on the wheel, thinking about what came next. The house was dark. Claire wouldn't be home for hours. She'd have to do damage control, manage the narrative, convince people that what just happened wasn't what it looked like. She was good at that. It's what she did professionally. But you can't spin your way out of humiliation when 50 people watched it happen in real time. I went inside, poured another bourbon, and sat on the couch in the dark. My phone stayed silent for 20 minutes. Then it started. First text from Claire, "We need to talk." Second, 5 minutes later. That was completely inappropriate. Third, Lena was drunk. She didn't mean anything by it. Fourth, are you seriously not going to respond? I set the phone face down on the coffee table and watched the screen light up with each new message, like a small, desperate heartbeat in the darkness. Around midnight, I heard a car in the driveway, footsteps on the walkway, too fast, too angry, key in the lock. Claire came through the door like a storm. What the? She started, then caught herself, reset, tried for control. We need to talk about what happened. Do we? I stayed on the couch, drink in hand. Lena was completely out of line. I don't know what she was thinking, but that whole scene was humiliating, I suggested. Yes, for both of us. Funny, I didn't feel humiliated. She stopped, recalibrating. What's that supposed to mean? It means I've been humiliated for months, Claire. I just didn't recognize it until recently. What are you talking about? I took a drink, let the silence stretch. She shifted her weight, uncomfortable without her usual control. Ethan, talk to me. About what? About how you've been working late? About your gym membership? About how you've stopped looking at me like I'm a person instead of an obstacle? Her face went carefully blank. You're upset about the party. I get it. But you're reading way too much into... Elevation Studio, I said. She froze. That's where you go, right? The boutique gym. $200 a month? You mentioned it was for stress relief and networking. Yes, she said slowly. What about it? Who's Rook? The color drained from her face so fast I could have timed it. What? Rook, coach at Elevation. Has a whole Instagram dedicated to transformation and mindset. I leaned forward. How long? I don't. She caught herself. That's insane. You think... How long, Claire? You're being paranoid. Rook is just my trainer. Everyone at the studio has... Don't. My voice came out colder than I expected. Don't insult me by lying badly. You're a professional communicator. If you're going to lie, at least make it believable. She stood there, trapped between denying and defending, and I watched her PR training battle her panic. This is ridiculous, she finally said. You're making up some fantasy because you're embarrassed about what happened at the party. But I'm not doing this. I'm not playing into your paranoid... I pulled out my phone, brought up her Instagram, navigated to the post I'd found. Turned the screen toward her, the yoga event photo. Her and Rook standing close, her smile genuine in a way I hadn't seen in months. That's from 2 weeks ago, I said. Same week you had dinner at that steakhouse downtown. The Tuesday you told me you were working through dinner. Her eyes went to the photo, then to me. Our credit card statement, I continued. $247 at Lori's, plus parking. You want to tell me that was a work dinner? It was. Her voice had that defensive edge now. Renee wanted to discuss the Q3 strategy off-site. Renee drinks white wine. The receipt shows bourbon. Your boss doesn't drink bourbon. How do you even... She stopped. You're going through our credit card statements? That's... Our statements, joint account. My name's on it too. This is insane, she said, but her voice was shaking now. You're building some conspiracy theory out of... The boutique hotel in Los Feliz. Multiple charges at the bar. Always Thursday evenings. That's when you have late meetings, right? Every Thursday? She said nothing. And before you tell me it's another work thing, I checked. Your company doesn't have any satellite offices in Los Feliz. No clients there either. I looked. You looked. She said it like an accusation. You're investigating me? I'm paying attention. There's a difference. This is... She grabbed her phone, started typing something, stopped. I can't believe you're doing this. Making accusations based on credit card charges and Instagram posts. That's not evidence. That's paranoia. You're right, I said. It's not evidence. It's a pattern. And patterns tell stories if you're paying attention. She stared at me, and I watched her trying to decide which angle to take. Offense, defense, deflection. She chose offense. You know what? Fine. You want to believe I'm having an affair? Believe it. But I'm not going to stand here and defend myself against your paranoid theories. I'm going to bed. She started toward the stairs. Does he know you're married? I asked. She stopped but didn't turn around. Or did you give him the same speech you're trying on me, about how this is paranoia, how there's some innocent explanation, how I'm crazy for seeing what's right in front of me? You're unbelievable, she said, and went upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close, then lock. I sat there in the dark living room with my empty drink and thought about how fights used to matter, how we used to argue and reconcile and find middle ground because the relationship was worth the work. Now we weren't fighting. We were just watching each other's defenses. My phone buzzed. Text from Mark. Just saw the video. You okay? I typed back. Which video? From the party. It's all over Instagram. Lena grabbing your hand, Claire's face when she realized people were filming. Of course there was video. Nothing happened in private anymore. Everything was content. I'm fine, I sent. That's not really an answer. It's the only one I have right now. 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Call me if you need to talk. Anytime. I set down the phone. Sunday morning, Claire was already gone when I woke up. No note, no text. Just her absence and the lingering smell of her coffee. I spent the day doing nothing productive. Sat on the couch, watched TV without seeing it, checked my phone too often for messages that didn't come. Around 3 p.m., I drove to Elevation Studio. I didn't have a plan. I just needed to see the place, confirm its reality, make the abstract concrete. The studio was in a converted warehouse in Silver Lake, all glass and steel and aspirational branding. Through the windows, I could see people on exercise equipment, trainers circulating, everyone looking determined and vaguely unhappy in that way fitness culture demanded. I sat in my truck across the street and watched. After 20 minutes, he came out. Rook. Same confidence as the party, dressed in studio gear with a logo, talking on his phone. He gestured while he talked, animated, the kind of guy who performed even when he didn't know anyone was watching. He ended the call, checked his watch, looked around, and his eyes passed over my truck without registering it. That's how invisible I was. Parked 30 feet away, watching him directly, and I didn't even register as a potential concern. He got into a white Jeep, because of course he drove a white Jeep, and pulled out of the lot. I followed him. Not close enough to be obvious, but close enough to track. He drove with the casual confidence of someone who never worried about being followed, who moved through the world certain of his welcome. We went west on Sunset, then north into the hills. The houses got bigger, the lots more private. He turned into a narrow residential street and parked in the driveway of a small Spanish-style home. Decent place, probably a rental. Too nice for a gym trainer's salary unless he had side income, or wealthy clients. He went inside without looking back. I sat at the end of the street, engine running, and thought about what came next. I could confront him, walk up to that door, knock, and say everything I needed to say. But that was emotional, reactive. The kind of move that felt good in the moment but accomplished nothing except making me feel worse after. Or I could keep watching, keep learning, build understanding not through hacking phones or hiring investigators, but through attention, observation, patience. The thing about people who think they're invisible is they get careless. The thing about people who think they're smarter than you is they underestimate what you can do. And the thing about revenge, real revenge, the kind that matters, is that it requires understanding your target better than they understand themselves. I turned around and drove home. Claire came back around 7. I heard her car, her footsteps, her key in the lock. She came in carrying takeout bags and wearing a careful expression. I brought dinner, she said. Thai food, your favorite. I was on the couch, TV on but muted. Thanks, I said. She set the bags on the kitchen counter, started unpacking containers. Look, about last night, it's fine. No, it's not. I shouldn't have. She stopped, recalibrated. We should talk, really talk. Not just accusations and defensiveness. Okay. She brought food over, sat on the other end of the couch. We ate in silence for a few minutes, the TV providing ambient noise, the space between us feeling wider than 3 feet. I'm not having an affair, she said finally. I kept eating. I know you think something's going on, and I understand why you might, with the gym and the schedule and everything, but you're wrong. Okay. Okay? She looked at me. That's it? What do you want me to say? I want you to believe me. I set down my food, met her eyes. The problem, Claire, is that I don't know if I do anymore. And that's not about evidence or proof or Instagram posts. That's about how you've been treating me for months, like I'm in the way, like I'm something to be managed instead of someone to be with. That's not... It is. You know it is. Even if you're not having an affair, and I'm not saying I believe you, something's changed. You're not here. You haven't been here for a while. She looked away. Things have been stressful at work. The pressure from Renee, the quarterly reviews. It's not about work pressure. It's about how you look at me, or don't look at me. How you talk to me like I'm an employee who's underperforming. How you've stopped seeing me as a person and started seeing me as I searched for the word, a placeholder. That's not fair. Maybe not. But it's true. We sat there with bad Thai food and worse silence, and I thought about how relationships don't end with explosions. They end with moments like this, 2 people who used to know each other sitting 3 feet apart and feeling miles away. I need to know, Claire said quietly. At the party. Were you serious? About Lena? No. Then why? Because you needed to see what it felt like, being humiliated in public, having people watch your control slip, feeling invisible while everyone else watches. She absorbed that, her PR training trying to find the right response. I don't know how to fix this, she finally said. Maybe you can't. You're giving up? I'm being honest. I stood, gathered my food containers. You want this to work? Then stop managing me. Stop treating our marriage like a PR problem you need to spin. Stop lying about where you are and who you're with. I'm not... Claire, I looked at her. I know you're lying. I don't know all the details yet, but I know. And every time you insist you're not, you make it worse. I left her sitting on the couch and went upstairs. That night, lying in bed with 3 feet and miles between us, I heard her crying quietly. I didn't reach across the space. I didn't comfort her. I just lay there thinking about Rook's confident walk, Claire's careful lies, and how revenge wasn't about getting even. It was about making them see you for the first time. Monday morning, I woke up with clarity I hadn't felt in months. Claire was already gone. Early meeting, or so the text on my phone claimed. The house was quiet, neutral, waiting. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen counter with my laptop, and started planning. Not revenge, not yet. First came understanding, then leverage, then action. I opened a blank document and started writing everything I knew. Claire, works late Thursdays, gym membership at Elevation Studio, credit card charges at Brew Theory Coffee Shop, midday, Tuesdays and Fridays, dinner at Lori's Steakhouse, bourbon on receipt, hotel bar charges in Los Feliz, Thursday evenings, Instagram post from yoga event with Rook 2 weeks ago. Rook runs Elevation Studio. Instagram shows lifestyle coaching, client transformations, lives in small Spanish house in Hills, probably rental, drives white Jeep, confident in public, performs even when alone. I stared at the list, looking for the vulnerability. Money wasn't it. Guys like Rook always had access to cash, whether through clients or investors or family money. Legal pressure wouldn't work without evidence I didn't have and wouldn't pursue. But reputation? Image? For someone whose entire business model was built on being aspirational, inspiring, trustworthy, reputation was everything. I closed the laptop and called Mark. You still do security for private events? I asked when he answered. Yeah. Why? I need information on someone. Nothing illegal, just background. What they do, where they go, who they know. This about the gym guy? Yeah. Silence on the other end. Then, what are you planning? Nothing I can't walk away from. That's not reassuring. It's the truth. More silence. Give me a name, Mark finally said. Rook, first name, last name, I don't know. Runs Elevation Studio in Silver Lake. I'll see what I can find, but Ethan. I know, be careful, don't do anything stupid. I've heard the speech. Then maybe listen to it. He hung up. I spent the morning at a job site in Pasadena, fixing a commercial building's loading dock door that had jumped its track. Physical work, mindless, the kind of thing that let my brain process while my hands stayed busy. Around noon, Mark called back. Your guy's name is Derek Rook, he said. 34, originally from San Diego. Played college volleyball, no pro career. Opened Elevation Studio 3 years ago with investor backing. Looks like family money. Studio's doing okay, not great. About 60 active members, couple of trainers on staff. He does the social media presence thing heavy, lots of lifestyle branding. What about his personal life? That's where it gets interesting. He was engaged 2 years ago to a woman named Jessica Brennan, interior designer. Engagement ended badly. I found a couple of vague posts from her about betrayal and wasted time. She moved to Portland about 18 months ago. So he's got a pattern? Looks like it. Also found some reviews from former clients. Mostly positive, but a few mentioned he got too personal, crossed professional boundaries. Nothing actionable, just uncomfortable. Anything else? Yeah, he's got a business partner, silent partner, guy named Trevor Holt. Money guy, doesn't work at the studio but owns 40%. They filed some paperwork last year about expanding to a second location, but it never happened. Guessing financing fell through. Trevor. That was the name Lena had mentioned at her party, the guy she'd just broken up with. Mark, I said slowly. This Trevor. What's he look like? Hold on, I heard typing. Found his LinkedIn. Tall guy, dark hair, finance background, works at an investment firm downtown. Why? I think he might be connected to my wife's sister. Small world. Or calculated one. What does that mean? I don't know yet. I leaned against my truck, thinking. Thanks for the information. Ethan, whatever you're planning, I'm just gathering information. That's what everyone says before they do something they regret. Maybe regret is underrated. I hung up before he could argue. That afternoon, I drove back to Elevation Studio, not to confront anyone, just to observe. I parked down the street out of direct sightline and watched the entrance. People came and went, mostly women, a few men, everyone in expensive athletic wear, carrying yoga mats or water bottles with motivational phrases. The kind of people who paid other people to yell at them about commitment. At 4:30, Rook came out with a client. Young woman, maybe late 20s, laughing at something he said. He walked her to her car, leaned against it while they talked, all casual confidence and intentional charm. She drove away smiling. He went back inside. I sat there until 6 p.m., watching the pattern. Rook circulated between clients, spent time in what looked like his office, came out to the main floor regularly. Through the windows, I could see him demonstrating exercises, correcting form, making people feel seen. That was his skill, making people feel like they mattered, like he saw something special in them. And for clients paying $200 a month for the privilege, that feeling was worth more than the actual exercise. Around 6:15, he came out again, locked up the front entrance, and headed to his Jeep. I followed him again. Same route as Sunday, west on Sunset, north into the hills. But this time he didn't go home. He turned into a shopping area, parked outside a high-end grocery store, went inside. I gave him 5 minutes, then followed. He was in the produce section, examining avocados with the seriousness people usually reserved for expensive wine. Basket in hand, phone tucked between shoulder and ear, having a conversation I was too far away to hear. I grabbed a basket myself and moved through the store, keeping distance but maintaining sightline. He shopped like someone performing for an audience, selecting organic, checking labels, choosing things that looked good more than things that tasted good. Everything about him was curated, intentional, designed to project an image. At the checkout, he flirted with the cashier. Nothing crude, just that easy charm that made people feel special for 30 seconds. She laughed, rang up his items, probably thought about him for the rest of her shift. He loaded groceries into his Jeep and drove home. I didn't follow this time. I'd seen enough. That night, I sat in my truck outside his house and thought about next moves. Direct confrontation wouldn't work. Guys like Rook were good at talking, at spinning, at making you feel like the crazy one for noticing the truth. Legal action had no foundation. I had suspicions, not evidence, and I wasn't going to hire a private investigator to photograph hotel visits like some cable TV plot. But fear, pressure, the slow realization that actions have consequences, that I could work with. I pulled out my phone and texted Mark. Do you still have access to commercial property inspection reports? His response came fast. Why? Just answer the question. Yes. Through a contact at the city. Why? I need you to check something for me. Elevation Studio in Silver Lake, and I want to know about their permits, inspections, any code violations, or pending citations. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. What are you doing? Background research. This doesn't feel like background research. Will you check or not? Another long pause. I'll check, but you owe me a real conversation about what you're planning. Deal. I drove home. Claire's car was in the driveway. Lights on inside. When I came through the door, she was in the kitchen, making dinner. Actual cooking, not takeout, which meant she was trying. Hey, she said, too bright. I'm making pasta, the kind you like. Thanks. I set down my keys, took off my jacket. She kept her back to me, stirring something on the stove, performing normalcy. How was work? She asked. Fine. Loading dock repair in Pasadena. Sounds riveting. It has its moments. She turned, wooden spoon in hand, attempting casualness. Listen, about last night. What I said? It's fine. No, it's not. I've been thinking about it all day, and you're right. I have been distant. Work's been consuming everything, and I've let it affect us. That's not fair to you. I leaned against the counter, studying her. This was her wheelhouse. Controlling the narrative, managing the conversation, steering things back to safe territory. Okay, I said. Okay. You're right. You have been distant. I appreciate the acknowledgement. She blinked, recalibrating. She'd expected pushback, argument, something to work against. So we're good? She tried. I don't know. Are we? I want us to be. Wanting and doing are different things. She set down the spoon, came closer. What do you need from me? Tell me what would make this better. Honesty. I'm being honest. Then tell me about Thursday nights. The hotel bar in Los Feliz. What are you doing there if you're working late? Her face did something complicated. I told you, sometimes we have off-site meetings. Every Thursday, same place, for months? You're doing this again, making accusations based on credit card statements. Our credit card statements, Claire. I'm not hacking anything. I'm just paying attention to things that are already visible. This is insane, she said, but her voice was weaker now. You're building this conspiracy theory out of normal things. Then explain them. Make it make sense. Tell me why every Thursday you're charging drinks at a hotel bar when you're supposed to be at the office. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. Sometimes I need space. To decompress. To be somewhere that's not work and not home. Alone? Yes. Every Thursday. Yes. For hours. She looked away. You're twisting this into something it's not. I'm asking questions. You're giving answers that don't add up. There's a difference. The timer on the stove beeped. She turned back to the pasta, draining it with shaking hands, and I watched her try to hold together the performance. We ate in near silence. She asked surface questions. How was Pasadena? When was my next inspection? Did I remember dinner with her parents on Sunday? I gave surface answers. After dinner, she went upstairs to work on her laptop. I stayed in the living room, TV on, thinking about patterns and lies and how people convinced themselves their own stories were true. Around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed. Text from Mark. Check the studio. No major violations, but they've got some pending items. Emergency exit signage, fire extinguisher inspection dates, couple of minor electrical things. Normal stuff for a commercial space. Nothing that would shut them down, but enough that if someone filed a complaint, it would trigger an inspection and probably some fines. I typed back, who would file a complaint? Technically anyone. Concerned citizen, competing business, whoever. The city takes complaints seriously for public fitness spaces because of liability. Thanks. Ethan, whatever you're thinking, I'm just thinking. That's all. I set down the phone. Wednesday morning, I woke up early and drove to Elevation Studio before sunrise. The place was dark, empty, locked up tight. I sat in my truck across the street and waited. At 5:45 a.m., Rook's Jeep pulled into the lot. He got out carrying a coffee and a gym bag, unlocked the front entrance, disappeared inside. Lights came on in sections, lobby, main floor, office in the back. At 6 a.m., the first clients arrived. Early risers, dedicated types, people who exercised before work because they'd convinced themselves it made them better than everyone else. I watched them file in, watched Rook greet them at the door, watched the routine begin. At 6:30, I got out of my truck. The front door was unlocked now. I walked in like I belonged there, like I was just another potential client checking out the space. The lobby was all minimalist design. White walls, motivational quotes in expensive fonts, photos of transformed clients. A desk sat empty near the entrance, probably for a receptionist who hadn't arrived yet. Through the glass wall, I could see the main floor. Treadmills, weight equipment, clients working through routines. Rook was in the center, demonstrating something to a group of 3, his voice carrying but not the words. I stood there in the lobby, hands in my pockets, just watching. After a minute, he looked up and saw me. His expression cycled through confusion, recognition, calculation. He said something to his clients, then walked toward the lobby. Through the glass, then through the door, smile already in place but not reaching his eyes. "Can I help you?" he asked. Polite, professional, but wary. "Maybe," I said. "I'm thinking about joining. Wanted to check out the space." "Great. I'm Derek." He extended a hand. I looked at it, didn't take it. His smile faltered slightly. "Have we met?" "Not formally. I saw you at a party Saturday night. Lena's place." Understanding clicked in his eyes, followed immediately by careful neutrality. "Right," he said. "Claire's husband. Ethan?" "That's right." "Nice to meet you properly." He lowered his hand. "So you're interested in training?" "I'm interested in a lot of things." Silence stretched between us. Behind him, through the glass, clients kept working, unaware of the tension in the lobby. "Look," Derek said, voice dropping slightly. "I don't know what you think." "I don't think anything yet," I interrupted. "I'm just observing, gathering information, learning about people who've entered my life. Claire's my client, that's all." "Is it?" "Yeah." His confidence was returning, that easy charm kicking in. "I know how this looks, but you've got it wrong. She comes to classes, works out, that's it. Whatever you're imagining." "I'm not imagining anything, I'm just paying attention." I took a step closer. "See, guys like you think guys like me are invisible. too trusting, too stupid, too busy with actual work to notice when someone's playing games, and maybe I was, for a while. His jaw tightened slightly. I think you should leave. I think you should remember that this is my city too, my neighborhood, my life you're playing in. I kept my voice level, calm, cold. And when you play in someone else's life, sometimes they play back. Is that a threat? It's information. Consider it a free consultation. I held his eyes for another 3 seconds, then turned and walked out. Behind me, I heard him say something to someone, but I didn't look back. I got in my truck, started the engine, and drove away. My hands were steady on the wheel. My heart was racing. That afternoon, I was at a job site in Glendale when I got a call from an unknown number. Ethan Vale? A woman's voice, professional, neutral. Speaking. This is Jennifer Chen from Elevation Studio. I understand you came by this morning to inquire about membership? I was just looking around. Right. Well, Mr. Rook asked me to call and let you know that unfortunately we're at capacity right now and not accepting new members. But I'd be happy to put you on a waiting list if you're interested. I almost laughed. Tell Mr. Rook that's fine, I said. I wasn't actually planning to join anyway. Pause. Oh, okay. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, but thanks for calling. I hung up. So Rook was scared enough to ban me preemptively. Good. Fear was progress. That evening, I met Mark at the Anchor. He was already in our usual booth, 2 beers waiting. You went to his gym? He said as I sat down. How'd you know? Because you've got that look, the one you had in high school before you do something stupid. I just introduced myself. And he knows I know. And he's scared. He called his receptionist to ban me from the studio. Mark rubbed his face. Ethan, listen to me very carefully. You're poking a situation that's already volatile. If he's actually involved with Claire, he is, then confronting him directly gives him ammunition. He can tell her you showed up at his workplace, threatened him, acted unstable. He can flip this whole thing and make you the bad guy. Let him try. You're not thinking straight. I'm thinking clearer than I have in months. I took a drink. Everyone keeps telling me to be careful, to document things, to take the smart approach. But the smart approach means lawyers and mediators and splitting assets like we're dissolving a business partnership. That's not what I want. Then what do you want? I want them to feel exposed, vulnerable, like the ground isn't solid under their feet, like someone's watching them the way they thought no one was watching. That's not justice. That's just making them as miserable as you are. Maybe. I met his eyes. Or maybe it's making them see me for the first time in months, making them understand that invisible people can do damage when you forget they're there. Mark leaned back, studying me. You're going to do something you regret. Probably, but at least I'll be doing something instead of being something done to. We drank in silence for a while. That information you asked for, Mark finally said, about the studio violations. You planning to use that? Maybe. How? Anonymous complaint. Tips off an inspection. They get cited, pay some fines, deal with bureaucratic hassle. Nothing that hurts anyone, just creates pressure. And then what? Then I see what happens when pressure meets guilt. This is a bad idea. Yeah, I finished my beer, but it's mine. Thursday morning, I called the city's code enforcement hotline from a burner phone I'd picked up at a convenience store. The automated system asked for information about the complaint. I kept it simple, factual. I visited Elevation Studio in Silver Lake and noticed several safety concerns. Emergency exit signage appears inadequate, fire extinguishers look expired, and there's some questionable electrical work visible in the main training area. As someone concerned about public safety in commercial fitness spaces, I thought this should be inspected. The system said someone would review the complaint within 5 business days. I hung up and threw the burner phone in a dumpster behind a gas station. That evening, Claire came home at her usual Thursday late time, 9:30 p.m., claiming the weekly meeting had run long. How was it? I asked from the couch. Exhausting, she said, dropping her bag. Renee's on a rampage about Q4 planning. Sounds rough. She kicked off her shoes, looked at me. You're being weird again. How so? Quiet. Watching me. It's unsettling. I'm just here. Same as always. She stood there in the doorway between the kitchen and living room, backlit by the kitchen light, and I could see her trying to decide something. Did you do something? She finally asked. Like what? I don't know. You just seem different, like you're planning something. Maybe I'm just paying attention. That's what worries me. She went upstairs without another word. I sat there in the dark, TV flickering without sound, and thought about how well people could lie to themselves. Claire was smart enough to know something had shifted, but not honest enough to acknowledge why. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. Mark. Your guy just got a visit from city inspectors, he said. How do you know? Friend of mine works code enforcement. Saw the complaint was flagged as priority because it's a public fitness space. They sent someone this morning. What happened? What you expected. Minor violations, nothing major. They wrote him up for expired fire extinguisher certifications and inadequate emergency signage. Probably 500 in fines, maybe less. He's got 30 days to correct and provide proof. And my friend said the owner, your guy Rook, was agitated about it. Kept asking who filed the complaint, said it must be a competitor trying to sabotage him. Inspector told him complaints are anonymous, but that everything cited was legitimate. I felt something cold and satisfied settle in my chest. Thanks for letting me know. Ethan, this is just the start, isn't it? I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. You're building something, piece by piece, and I'm worried about where it ends. It ends when they understand that invisible people can see everything. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. I hung up. That weekend was dinner with Claire's parents. Her father was a retired insurance executive who'd never approved of me. I wasn't impressive enough, didn't make enough money, worked with my hands instead of my mind. Her mother was polite in that way that felt like tolerance rather than acceptance. We sat in their Pasadena dining room making small talk about weather and traffic and everything except what mattered. Claire performed the dutiful daughter role, asking about their bridge club and garden and upcoming vacation to wine country. Her father asked about my work. I gave vague answers about maintenance contracts and upcoming projects. He nodded with barely concealed disinterest. At one point, Claire's mother asked when we were planning to give them grandchildren. Claire laughed it off. We're not ready yet. And I said nothing. Her father gave me a look that said everything about what he thought of me as husband material. On the drive home, Claire was quiet. That went well, I finally said. My dad was rude. I'm sorry. He's always rude. I'm used to it. You shouldn't have to be used to it. Claire. I glanced at her. Your parents don't respect me because you don't respect me. They take their cues from you. And for months you've been treating me like an obligation. They notice. That's not true. It is, and you know it. You just don't want to admit it. She stared out the passenger window. I don't know how to fix this. Maybe start by being honest. About where you go, who you're with, what you want. I told you. I know what you told me. I also know what's true. There's a difference. We drove the rest of the way in silence. Sunday night, lying in bed with the space between us feeling like miles, I heard her phone buzz on the nightstand. Once, twice, 3 times. She reached for it, checked the screen, and I watched her face in the dim light from the window. Whatever she saw made her go very still. She typed something quickly, set the phone face down, and lay back. Everything okay? I asked. Fine, just work. On Sunday night? Renee doesn't believe in weekends. Right. 5 minutes later, her phone buzzed again. She didn't check it this time. She just lay there, staring at the ceiling, and I could almost hear the calculations running through her mind. Monday morning, I got to work early and checked the online court records for our county, searching for any filings involving Elevation Studio or Derek Rook. Nothing in civil court. But there were 2 small claims cases from last year, both filed by former clients claiming he'd violated their training contracts. Both settled before trial. I screenshot the case numbers and details. Then I searched for the name Jessica Brennan, his ex-fiancée who'd moved to Portland. Her social media was mostly locked down, but her LinkedIn was public. Interior designer, exactly as Mark had said. Her profile photo showed an attractive woman in her early 30s. Professional smile, carefully curated image. I found an old blog post from 2 years ago, before she'd moved, where she'd written about recovering from narcissistic relationships and learning to trust your instincts when something feels wrong. She never named him, but the timeline matched. I screenshot that too. Information was power, not for legal action. I still wasn't going that route, but for understanding, for building a complete picture of who Derek Rook actually was beneath the motivational Instagram posts and aspirational branding. Tuesday afternoon, I was finishing a job in Beverly Hills when my phone rang. Unknown number again, I answered. Yeah? Is this Ethan Vale? Male voice, professional, guarded. Who's asking? My name's Trevor Holt. I'm a business partner at Elevation Studio. I understand you've been... He paused, taking an interest in our operation. Trevor, Lena's ex. the money guy behind Rook's business. I stopped by once, I said. Is that a crime? No, but filing false complaints with the city might be. I didn't file anything false. If there were violations cited, they must have been legitimate. The timing is interesting. You show up at our studio, confront Derek, then suddenly we get an anonymous complaint that triggers an inspection. Sounds like coincidence to me? I don't believe in coincidences. His voice was harder now. Whatever issue you think you have with Derek, I don't have an issue with anyone. I'm just a guy who noticed some things and thought the city should know. Public safety matters. This is harassment. This is civic responsibility. There's a difference. Silence on his end. Then, stay away from our business. Stay away from Derek. Whatever you think is happening. I'm not thinking anything, I interrupted. I'm just watching. There's no law against that. There are laws against stalking, harassment, filing false reports, all of which require proof that I've done something wrong. Have I? More silence. Consider this a warning, he finally said. Consider it received. I hung up. So Rook had called in his business partner to threaten me? Interesting. That meant he was scared enough to escalate, but not scared enough to back down entirely. Good. Fear and pride made people sloppy. That night, Claire came home at her regular time looking exhausted. Bad day? I asked. The worst. 3 crises before noon, Renee's impossible to please, and I've got a presentation Thursday that's nowhere near ready. Thursday, I said. That's your late night. She froze for just a second. Yeah, probably won't be home until 9 or 10. Same as always. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, just observation. She stared at me, trying to read intention, trying to figure out what I knew versus what I suspected. You're doing it again, she said. Doing what? That thing, where you say something that sounds innocent but isn't. Maybe you're reading too much into simple statements. Maybe you're making me paranoid on purpose. I smiled without humor. Why would I do that? She opened her mouth, closed it, grabbed her bag, and went upstairs. I sat there in the quiet house and thought about pressure points, about how relationships cracked not from one big moment, but from accumulated stress applied precisely where the structure was already weak. Thursday would be interesting. Thursday morning, I called in some favors. First was Danny Martinez, a guy I'd worked with for years who now ran an HVAC company. I'd helped him out of a few tight spots with difficult clients, and he owed me. I need someone to do a consultation, I told him. Commercial space in Silver Lake, elevation studio. Just walk through, inspect their HVAC system, give them a quote for service. You want me to look for problems? I want you to be thorough. Document everything. Take pictures. If there are issues, note them. If the system's running inefficiently, mention it. Professional evaluation, that's all. Why? Personal reasons. This about Claire? Everyone knew. Apparently I'd been the only one who didn't. Yeah. Say no more. I'll send someone this afternoon. Next was Patricia from the Sherman office complex, the building manager I'd helped with the HVAC nightmare. She had connections with commercial real estate management companies across the city. I need a favor, I told her. Nothing illegal, just information. Can you check if there are any commercial spaces available for lease near Elevation Studio in Silver Lake, specifically spaces suitable for fitness centers? Looking to open a competing business? She asked, amused. Just exploring options? Sure, I'll ask around. Third call was to Mark. I need to know about Trevor Holt, I said. Everything you can find. Financial background, business history, relationship status. The guy who called to threaten you? He didn't threaten me. He warned me. There's a difference. Is there? Yeah, one's illegal, one's just annoying. Mark sighed. I'll see what I can dig up, but I'm keeping a record of all these requests so when you eventually get arrested, I can show the lawyer how I tried to stop you. Appreciate the support. That wasn't support. That was resignation. I spent the day at a job site in Burbank, replacing corroded piping in a restaurant's kitchen. Mindless work, which gave me time to think through next moves. The key was making them both realize their situation wasn't stable, that their careful compartmentalization, Claire's life with me separate from whatever she was doing with Rook, couldn't hold if someone was actively working to dissolve the boundaries. Around 3 p.m., Danny texted, "Sent Rick to that studio. Place is a mess. Old HVAC system, probably original to the building, running at maybe 60% efficiency, mold risk in the air handlers. Ductwork has gaps. Not dangerous, but definitely problematic for a fitness space where people are breathing hard." I texted back, "He document everything, photos, notes, the works. Also left his card with the owner, mentioned that they really should schedule service before winter." Perfect. At 5 p.m., Patricia called. "Found something interesting," she said. "There's a space available 3 blocks from that studio you mentioned. Former yoga center, closed during the lockdowns and never reopened. Decent square footage, good location, already zoned for fitness use. What's the rent?" "Competitive. Probably $1,000 less per month than what similar spaces are going for in that area. Owners motivated to fill it." "Thanks. Can you send me the listing?" "Already did. Check your email." I pulled it up on my phone. The space looked good. Open floor plan, high ceilings, natural light. Perfect for a boutique fitness center. I forwarded it to Mark with a message. "How much would it cost to open a gym?" His response? "Why are you asking me questions I don't want to know the answers to? Just curious." "You're not curious. You're planning. Those are different things. Answer the question." Long pause then. "Depends on equipment, staffing, build-out. For a small operation, probably 50-70K to get started." "Why?" "No reason." "I don't believe you." I put the phone away. That evening I got home before Claire. The house was quiet, neutral, waiting. I opened our laptop, the shared one we used for household bills and shopping, and navigated to our bank accounts. We had joint checking and savings, nothing huge, but enough that we'd lived comfortably. Or at least I thought we had. I transferred half of our savings, $12,000, into a new individual account I'd opened that morning. My name only. Money from before we married, plus contributions I could prove were mine. Not theft, not fraud, just protecting what was mine before things got messier. Then I went through our joint credit card accounts and removed Claire as an authorized user on the cards that were primarily in my name. She could still use the joint card, but she couldn't make charges on my personal account anymore. Again, not illegal, not even uncommon during marital stress, just establishing boundaries. Finally, I changed the passwords on our streaming services, cloud storage, and shared email account we used for household stuff. Nothing she needed for work, nothing that would create immediate crisis, just minor inconveniences that would accumulate. Death by 1,000 cuts. Claire came home at 9:45 p.m., carrying her laptop bag and looking drained. "Rough meeting?" I asked from the couch. "You have no idea." She dropped everything on the entry table. "Renee's presentation was a disaster. We spent 3 hours rebuilding the entire thing." "At the office?" "Where else would we be?" "Just asking." She grabbed water from the kitchen, then noticed something on the counter, a bill that had come in the mail. "When did this come?" she asked. "This afternoon." "Did you open it?" "It's addressed to both of us." She opened it, scanned the contents, frowned. "The credit card balance seems high." "Does it?" "Yeah. Have you been using it a lot?" "No more than usual. Maybe you should check your charges." She pulled out her phone, started to log into the account, then stopped. "The password's not working." "Weird. Did you change it?" "I updated a few accounts today, security reasons." She looked at me. "You changed the password to our credit card account?" "Our account," I said. "And I updated several passwords. Identity protection. You hear about these data breaches all the time." "What's the new password?" "I'll email it to you." "Or you could just tell me." "I'll email it." Her jaw tightened. "You're being petty." "I'm being careful. There's a difference." She stood there with her phone in hand, trying to decide if this was worth a fight. Apparently deciding it wasn't, she went upstairs. I heard the shower start, then stop, then start again. 20 minutes later, she came back downstairs in pajamas, hair still damp. "I can't log into Netflix," she said. Must be a glitch. "And the cloud storage." "Technical difficulties. You know how these things are." "Ethan." She stood in front of me, arms crossed. "What are you doing?" "What do you mean?" "The passwords, the attitude. This whole week you've been..." She searched for the word different. "Have I?" "Yes. And I don't understand why." I stood up, meeting her eyes. Maybe I'm tired of being the only one who doesn't know what's happening in my own marriage. Maybe I'm tired of being managed and lied to and treated like I'm too stupid to notice when things don't add up. Maybe I kept my voice level. I'm just deciding to pay attention. There's nothing to pay attention to. Then you have nothing to worry about. This is... She grabbed her phone. "I can't do this right now. I'm exhausted. I have work tomorrow, and I'm not going to stand here and defend myself against your paranoid theories." "I haven't asked you to defend anything. You're doing that yourself." She stared at me for another 5 seconds, then turned and went back upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close. Not slam. Close. Controlled, deliberate, maintaining the illusion of composure. I sat back down and turned on the TV. My phone buzzed. Text from Mark. Trevor Holt, 36 years old, works at Meridian Capital, specializes in small business investments and commercial real estate. Net worth estimated around $2 million. Recently ended a relationship. Timeline matches with Lena. No criminal record, nothing shady in his business history. Seems pretty straight edge. I texted back, connections to anyone else in this situation? Besides Rook and the studio? Not that I can find. Why? Just mapping the territory. You're doing more than mapping. You're building an attack plan. Maybe. Ethan, seriously, what's the end game here? I stared at the question. What was the end game? I'd been so focused on next steps, on applying pressure, on making Claire and Rook feel exposed that I hadn't really thought about where it ended. I don't know yet, I finally typed. That's what worries me, he responded. I set down the phone and stared at the TV without seeing it. Friday morning, Claire left for work without saying goodbye. I heard her moving around upstairs, heard her car start, heard her drive away. I made coffee and checked my email. Patricia had sent the full listing for the commercial space near Elevation. Seeing it in detail, it really was perfect. Ground floor, good visibility, easy access. The kind of space that would pull clients away from Rook's operation just by existing. I wasn't actually going to open a competing gym. I didn't have the capital, the expertise, or the desire. But Rook didn't know that. I forwarded the listing to Mark. Can you have someone anonymously inquire about this space? Ask questions about lease terms, build out allowances, opening timelines. Make it seem like someone's seriously considering opening a fitness center there. Why? Pressure. If word gets back to Rook that someone's looking at opening competition 3 blocks away, it adds another source of stress. This is psychological warfare. This is business. Competition happens. Except you're not actually competing. You're just making him think someone is. Is there a difference? Long pause. I'll have someone make the inquiry, but I'm documenting all of this for your inevitable court case. Appreciate it. That afternoon, I was at a job site in Culver City when I got a call from an unknown number. Ethan Vale? Woman's voice, calm, professional. Speaking. This is Lisa Kendrick. I'm an attorney representing Elevation Studio and Derek Rook. I'm calling regarding your recent behavior toward my clients. Finally. I'd been wondering when they'd lawyer up. What behavior would that be? I asked. Multiple instances of harassment, intimidation, and interference with business operations. My clients are prepared to pursue legal action if this continues. Interesting. What specific behavior are you referring to? Showing up at their place of business unannounced, filing false complaints with city agencies, making threatening statements. I visited a gym once as a potential client. That's not harassment. I filed a legitimate complaint about safety concerns I observed. That's civic duty, not false reporting. And I've made 0 threats. If your clients interpreted normal conversation as threatening, that sounds like a problem with their perception, not my behavior. Silence. Mr. Vale. Also, for someone claiming harassment, your clients seem very focused on me. I'm just a guy who went to a gym once and made a phone call to the city. If that's enough to warrant legal threats, maybe your clients should examine why they're so defensive. We're prepared to file for a restraining order if necessary. Based on what? One visit to a public business and an anonymous complaint that resulted in legitimate code violations? Good luck convincing a judge that constitutes harassment. There's a pattern? Of what? Me living my life, going places, making phone calls. I haven't contacted them, followed them, or done anything that crosses legal lines. You know it, I know it, and your clients know it. This call is intimidation, not legal action. More silence. Stay away from Elevation Studio, she finally said. Stay away from Mr. Rook. If you continue this pattern of behavior, there is no pattern. There's me existing in the same city as your clients. If they have a problem with that, maybe they should examine why. I hung up. My hands were shaking slightly. Not from fear, from adrenaline. They were scared enough to bring in a lawyer. That meant everything I'd done so far was working. That night, Claire came home at a normal time for the first time in weeks. She walked in, set down her stuff, and just stood in the doorway looking at me. We got a letter, she said quietly, from a law firm, about you. Did you? Derek's lawyer, saying you've been harassing him, filing false reports. They're threatening a restraining order. That's interesting. Interesting. Her voice rose. Ethan, what have you been doing? I visited a gym once, and I called the city about safety concerns I noticed. That's it. That's not... She stopped, regrouped. Why are you doing this? Doing what? Whatever this is, Going to his gym, making complaints, clearly trying to... She couldn't finish the sentence. Trying to what? I stood up, walked closer. What exactly do you think I'm trying to do, Claire? I don't know. Yes, you do. You know exactly what's happening. You're just not ready to admit it. Nothing is happening. Then why is his lawyer calling you? Why does he even have your contact information if you're just a client? She went pale. That's what I thought, I said quietly. You're ruining everything, she whispered. I'm not ruining anything. I'm just refusing to be invisible anymore. There's a difference. She grabbed her bag and went upstairs. I heard her on the phone, voice muffled through the floor, talking to someone in urgent, hushed tones. Probably Rook, probably trying to figure out what to do now that their careful separation was dissolving. Good. Let them panic. Let them feel the ground shift under their feet. Let them understand what it's like when someone starts paying attention. Saturday morning, my phone rang at 8 a.m. Lena. We need to talk, she said without preamble. About? About whatever's happening between you and my sister, and apparently some gym owner she's panicking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play dumb. Claire called me last night having a complete breakdown. Something about you harassing her trainer, lawyers, restraining orders. She was practically incoherent. That's unfortunate. Ethan, I'm on your side here, but I need to know what's actually happening. I was quiet for a moment, deciding how much to say. Meet me for coffee, I finally said. Brew Theory on Sunset. 30 minutes. Fine. She hung up. I got dressed, drove to the coffee shop, the same one Claire had been charging on our credit card all those Tuesday and Friday afternoons, and found a table outside. Lena showed up 25 minutes later, wearing sunglasses and looking like she'd dressed in 30 seconds. She dropped into the chair across from me, no greeting. Talk, she said. I told her. Not everything, but enough. The patterns I'd noticed, the credit card charges, the Instagram posts, the Thursday nights, my visit to Elevation Studio, the city complaint, the lawyer's call. She listened without interrupting, her expression unreadable behind the sunglasses. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. So you're systematically dismantling his life, she finally said. I'm applying pressure. Same thing. She took off the sunglasses, studied me. Question is, what's your end game? Everyone keeps asking me that. Because you don't seem to have one. You're just burning everything down and seeing what happens. Maybe that's the point. That's chaos, not strategy. Sometimes chaos is strategic. She leaned back, arms crossed. What do you want me to do? I don't want you to do anything. Claire's my sister. Even if she's being an idiot, I can't just watch this implode without... She stopped. Wait, that's exactly what you want, isn't it? For her to come to me, to panic, to make mistakes. I want her to understand that actions have consequences, that she can't carefully manage everyone's perception while lying to their faces. And Rook. I want him to understand that you can't build a business on reputation while destroying someone else's life, that invisible people can see everything when you're too arrogant to notice them watching. Lena studied me for another moment. You've changed, she said. At my party, you were still the beaten-down husband. Now you're... She searched for the word, calculating, cold. People adapt. Or they break. Maybe both. She put her sunglasses back on. Trevor called me yesterday. Said your name came up in a business call with Rook. Something about complaints and harassment. He wanted to know if I knew what was happening. What did you tell him? That I knew nothing, which was true at the time. She paused. He and Rook are panicking. The studio's having cash flow problems. Some of their long-term clients aren't renewing. And now, with the city violations and the rumors about potential competition nearby, they're stressed. Rumors about competition? Someone inquired about leasing the old yoga space down the street. Asked very specific questions about opening a boutique fitness center. Trevor heard about it through his real estate contacts. He's worried it'll pull clients from Elevation. I kept my expression neutral. Interesting timing, Lena said. Coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. Neither does Trevor. She leaned forward. He asked if you were connected to it somehow. What did you say? That you're a property maintenance supervisor, not a gym entrepreneur. Which is true, but I'm also not an idiot. She tilted her head. You're not actually opening a competing gym. You're just making them think someone is. That would be manipulative. Yes, it would. She almost smiled. I'm impressed and slightly terrified. You should tell Trevor to stop worrying. I have no interest in the fitness industry. But you'll let them keep worrying. I can't control what other people worry about. You're enjoying this. I'm doing what needs to be done? No, She shook her head. You're doing more than that. You're making them feel exactly what you felt, powerless, exposed, watched. That's not justice. That's revenge. Maybe I don't see a difference anymore. We sat there in the morning sunlight, and I thought about how quickly perspective shifts. 2 weeks ago, I was the underdog husband, invisible and underestimated. Now I was the threat they were trying to contain. What do you want from me? Lena asked again. Nothing. I just wanted you to know what's actually happening before Claire spins some version that makes me the villain. She already tried. Told me you've been stalking her trainer, making baseless accusations, acting unstable. I didn't believe her. Why not? Because I've been watching you both for months. Claire's been different. Secretive, defensive, that careful control she only uses when she's hiding something. And you've been invisible, which isn't like you. Or wasn't. She stood up. Now you're visible. Very visible. And it's making everyone uncomfortable. Good. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, this ends badly for everyone. It already ended badly. I'm just making sure everyone else knows it. She put a hand on my shoulder. Be careful. Claire's desperate, and desperate people make dangerous choices. Rook's arrogant, and arrogant people don't back down even when they should. You're pushing them into a corner, and cornered people fight dirty. Let them fight. Ethan, I'm done being careful. I'm done being the understanding husband who pretends not to notice. I'm done being managed and lied to and treated like I'm too stupid to see what's right in front of me. I met her eyes. They made me invisible. Now they get to see what invisible people can do. She studied me for a long moment, then removed her hand. Okay, she said quietly. Just don't lose yourself in this. Revenge is expensive. Sometimes you pay more than it costs them. She walked away. I sat there finishing my coffee, thinking about costs and payments, and whether some things were worth the price. My phone buzzed. Text from Mark. Trevor Holt just called his real estate contact asking about that space near the studio, wanted to know who inquired about it, if they're serious, what their timeline is. He's definitely worried. I texted back, Perfect. This is getting complicated. Multiple moving pieces. Hard to track who's doing what. That's the point. Chaos is strategic. You're starting to sound like a different person. Maybe I'm just becoming who I should have been all along. No response for 5 minutes. Then, just don't become someone you don't recognize. I put the phone away. That afternoon, I was at my truck when a car pulled up behind me. White Jeep. Rook got out. He was alone, no longer projecting the confident charm from his social media. He looked tired, stressed, angry. We need to talk, he said, walking toward me. Do we? Yeah, we do. He stopped a few feet away, hands in his pockets, trying for casualness but failing. What's your problem with me? I don't have a problem with you. Right, you just show up at my gym, file complaints with the city, apparently try to sabotage my business with fake competition. I haven't done anything to your business. If you're having problems, maybe examine your own choices. This is about Claire. Is it? Come on, man. I know you think whatever you think, but you've got it wrong. She's my client. That's it. Your client who you text at night. Your client who meets you at hotel bars. Your client who lies to her husband about where she is every Thursday. His expression shifted. Confirmation, guilt, calculation. It's not, he started. It's not what? Not my business? Not what it looks like? Not fair? I took a step closer. You want to talk about fair? And try being on the other side. Or try coming home to an empty house while your wife lies about working late. Try watching her smile at you like you're an idiot who can't see the truth right in front of you. If your marriage is falling apart, that's not my fault. No, it's yours. You knew she was married. You knew what you were doing. You just didn't think the husband would notice, or care, or do anything about it. I'm not scared of you. You should be. Not because I'm violent or dangerous, because I'm paying attention, and attention is power when you've been operating like no one's watching. He shifted his weight, trying to regain control of the conversation. Look, he said, voice dropping to reasonable. I get it. You're angry. You feel betrayed. But taking it out on me isn't going to fix your marriage. I'm not trying to fix my marriage. I'm trying to make sure everyone involved understands what they've done. By destroying my business, by harassing me, by making my life difficult. I've done nothing to your business except point out legitimate safety violations. If that's enough to cause problems, maybe your business was already unstable. The timing is coincidence or consequences. Take your pick. He stared at me, and I watched him trying to decide what angle to take. Anger? Intimidation? Appeal to reason? He chose wrong. You're making a mistake, he said, voice hardening. I have resources, lawyers, business partners, people who can make your life very difficult if you keep this up. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Here's another fact. I'm just a guy living my life, going places, making phone calls. If that's enough to threaten you, maybe examine why you're so defensive. Maybe consider that the problem isn't what I'm doing. It's what you've been doing that you're scared people will find out about. I got in my truck. This isn't over, he called after me. I know, I said, and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I watched him standing in the parking lot, hands clenched, looking like a man who just realized he wasn't in control of the situation anymore. That night, Claire didn't come home. She texted at 7 p.m., staying at Lena's tonight. Need space to think. I texted back, okay. No argument, no questions, just acknowledgement. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Lena. She's here, Lena said, and she's a wreck. I'm sure. She thinks you're trying to destroy her life. I'm trying to make her see what she's done to mine. Mission accomplished. She can't stop crying. Keeps saying everything's falling apart, that you've turned into someone she doesn't recognize, that she doesn't know how to fix this. Did she mention Rook? Silence. She swears nothing physical happened, Lena finally said. Says it was just emotional, a connection, someone who saw her as more than just a wife or employee. And you believe her? I believe she believes it. Whether it's true is another question. It doesn't matter if it was physical or not. She chose him over me, made time for him while making excuses to me. That's the betrayal. The rest is just details. What do you want her to do? I don't know. Tell the truth, maybe. Stop performing and start being honest. Acknowledge what she's done instead of making me the villain for noticing. She's scared of you. Good. Maybe she should have been scared of lying to me instead. Ethan, I have to go. I hung up. Sunday, I worked on my truck, replaced brake pads, changed oil, cleaned the interior. Physical work, mindless, the kind of thing that cleared your head. My phone stayed mostly quiet. One text from Claire asking if she could come home Tuesday to get more clothes. I responded, it's your house too. Mark called around noon. Your guy Rook posted on Instagram, he said. Long caption about overcoming adversity, staying strong during challenges, not letting negativity affect your vision. Very subtle mention of dealing with personal attacks from those who don't understand success. He's trying to control the narrative. Yeah, but the comments are interesting. A couple of people asking if everything's okay, one person mentioning they heard about city violations at the studio, someone else asking why several trainers have left in the past few months. Trainers have been leaving? Apparently. One of the comments mentioned that 2 trainers quit in the past month. Didn't give details, but it's enough to make people curious. Interesting. You didn't know about that? No, but it suggests maybe his problems aren't all external. Or maybe good employees don't want to work for someone unstable. Either way, it adds pressure. Which is what you want? Yeah. Ethan, this is getting bigger than you intended. Multiple people involved, lawyers, public social media drama. At some point, this spirals beyond your control. I know. And you're okay with that? I'm okay with them finally feeling what I've been feeling. Whether it spirals is up to them. That's not how this works. It's how it's working now. He was quiet for a moment. I can't keep helping if this crosses into actual harassment or illegal behavior. I understand. Do you? Yeah, and I appreciate everything you've done, but I'm not asking you to do anything else. From here, it's just me. That's what worries me. I'll be fine. Will you? I didn't answer. He hung up. Monday morning, I got a call from an unknown number. Female voice, official tone. Mr. Vale? This is Sandra Ortiz from the city attorney's office. I'm calling regarding a complaint that's been filed against you. My stomach dropped slightly, but I kept my voice steady. What kind of complaint? Harassment and filing false reports, specifically related to Elevation Studio and its owner, Derek Rook. He's filed a formal complaint alleging you've engaged in a pattern of harassment. On what basis? Multiple contacts, including showing up at his place of business, filing complaints with city agencies, and allegedly making threatening statements. I visited his gym once, as a potential client. I filed one complaint about legitimate safety concerns that resulted in actual code violations being cited. I've made 0 threats. If he's claiming otherwise, I'd like to see specific evidence. He's provided a timeline of events and witness statements. I'd like to see those too, because I haven't done anything illegal, and any allegations otherwise are false. Mr. Vale, we take harassment complaints seriously. So do I. Which is why I'm telling you that if Mr. Rook is alleging I've harassed him, threatened him, or done anything that crosses legal lines, he's lying. And if he's lying to a city attorney, that's a problem for him, not me. Silence. We'll be reviewing the complaint, she finally said. If we find sufficient evidence of wrongdoing, we may proceed with legal action. Review away. You won't find anything because I haven't done anything wrong. In the meantime, I strongly advise you to avoid any contact with Mr. Rook or Elevation Studio. I have no intention of contacting them. I never did. I went to a public business once and made a phone call about safety concerns. That's it. Very well. You'll hear from us if we need additional information. She hung up. I sat in my truck, heart racing, thinking about how quickly things escalate when people get desperate. Rook was scared enough to involve city officials. That meant the pressure was working. But it also meant things were getting real. I texted Lena. Rook filed a formal complaint against me with the city. Her response came fast. Claire knows. She's panicking. Is she at your place? Yeah. Won't talk to you. Won't go home. Just keep saying everything's falling apart. Tell her it already fell apart. This is just everyone else noticing. That's not helpful. It's honest. No response. That evening, I sat in my house alone and thought about endgames. I'd wanted Claire and Rook to feel exposed, vulnerable, watched, to understand what it was like when someone paid attention to the things you'd rather keep hidden. Mission accomplished. But now what? The city was involved. Lawyers were involved. People were taking sides, drawing lines, making it bigger than just two people lying and one person refusing to be lied to anymore. I could stop, back off, let things settle, or I could keep pushing, see how far it could go. Make absolutely certain they understood that invisible people can do real damage when you forget they're watching. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. Stop. Please. You've made your point. Derek. I stared at the message. Then I deleted it without responding, because I hadn't made my point yet. Not fully, not until they both understood, completely and irreversibly, what they'd done and what it cost. The end game was coming. I just needed to figure out what it looked like. Tuesday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls. Mark's voice, call me back, now. Lena, what did you do? Claire crying, please, just stop. I opened Instagram. Elevation Studio's account had posted at midnight a statement from Rook about attacks from unstable individuals. The comments section was chaos. Then I found the other post. Someone, anonymous account, created yesterday, had posted a thread about Elevation Studio, photos of the city violations, screenshots of client reviews mentioning inappropriate behavior, trainer turnover timeline, links to the small claims cases. It wasn't me. The thread had been shared 400 times overnight. Mark called. Did you do this? No. Someone who had access to your information did. I thought about Lena and that party. I have an idea, I said. This is going viral. Rook's studio is getting destroyed in real time. I didn't do it. But you created the conditions. You loaded the weapon. I hung up. The anonymous account had posted screenshots of text messages. Claire's number visible. Can't talk now. He's watching. Thursday, same time? I miss you. My stomach went cold. This wasn't pressure anymore. This was destruction. I called Lena. Did you do this? No, but I know who did. Who? Trevor. Rook's business partner. He's been angry about the situation. Found out Rook was involved with a married client, realized it was creating liability, decided to cut his losses. By destroying Rook publicly? By protecting his investment. He leaked everything to distance himself before the whole thing collapses. Those text messages. Rook's phone. Trevor had access because of the business partnership. Claire's seen it? Yeah. She's not good. Thinks you leaked everything. Where is she? Still at my place. Won't leave, just keeps refreshing the thread. Her name's visible in those screenshots. I know. Corporate communications manager. Now publicly exposed as having an affair with a client. Her text messages out there for everyone to see. Career ending. I need to see her. I don't think that's a good idea. I didn't do this. I know, but she doesn't believe that. You created the situation that made this possible. Give me your address. She sighed, then texted it. I drove to Lena's loft. She buzzed me up. She doesn't want to see you, Lena said at the door. I don't care. Claire was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, phone in hand, face swollen from crying. She looked up, devastated, turning to furious. Get out, she said. No. You destroyed my life. I didn't leak those messages. Trevor did. Rook's business partner. He found them on Rook's phone. I don't believe you. I wanted you to tell me the truth, not to ruin your career. My boss called this morning. I'm on administrative leave. My career is over because of you. Because of your choices. Months of lies. Months of choosing him while making me feel crazy. It wasn't. Nothing physical happened. I don't care if it was physical. You chose him, made time for him, lied to my face. She sank back onto the couch. What do you want from me? I wanted honesty, but it's too late. I'm losing everything. Welcome to how I felt for 3 months. She looked up at me, finally seeing the invisible husband who'd seen everything. I'm sorry, she said. Sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught. She didn't answer. That's what I thought. I turned to leave. I can't go back to the house, not with you. Then stay here, but don't expect me to care anymore. I walked out. In the hallway, Lana caught up with me. That was harsh. It was honest. What happens now? I don't know. That's up to her. I drove to Elevation Studio. The parking lot was empty except for Rook's Jeep. Through the windows, lights were off. A paper notice was taped to the door, city violations, plus a license review notice. After 20 minutes, Rook came out. He looked worse than Claire, unshaven, exhausted, defeated. Then he saw my truck. He walked toward me. I got out, meeting him in the middle of the street. You did this, he said. Trevor did this. Because of you. Because you created the pressure. Because you made choices that created liability for his investment. My business is done. My reputation is destroyed. Everything I built is gone. Everything you built was on lying to people. It was going to collapse eventually. And Claire, her career? You feel good about that? I feel nothing. 3 months ago, I would have tried to fix things, but she trained me not to care, and now I don't. He stared at me. You're cold. I'm realistic. You both wanted to play games while keeping your lives clean. You forgot that invisible people can see everything. So what now? Now I walk away because there's nothing left. You both destroyed it yourselves. I got back in my truck and drove away. That night Mark came over with pizza and beer. You look terrible, he said. Thanks. The thread's still spreading. There's talk about a news article. Not my problem. You systematically created the conditions for this. Trevor pulled the trigger, but you loaded the weapon. Maybe. We ate in silence. Claire's career is probably done, Mark said. The punishment seems disproportionate. How many months did I suffer quietly? How many times did she make me feel crazy? So this is proportionate? This is consequences. Mark studied me. You've changed. You're harder now, colder. People adapt, or they break. Maybe I broke months ago. I'm just showing it now. Around midnight, I pulled up the thread. Over 1,000 shares. People taking sides, creating narratives. None of them mattered. Mission accomplished. So why did I feel empty instead of satisfied? Wednesday morning, I was at a job site in Pasadena when I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Ethan Vale? Woman's voice, professional, but warm. Speaking. My name is Jessica Brennan. I don't know if that name means anything to you, but Rook's ex-fiancée. Pause. Yes. How did you know? I did some research when his name first came up. Right. Well, I'm calling because I saw what happened online, the thread about Elevation Studio, and I wanted to talk to you about Derek. I'm listening. Can we meet in person? There are things you should know, things that might help you understand what you're dealing with. I almost said no, almost told her that I wasn't dealing with anything anymore, that it was over, that whatever information she had didn't matter. But curiosity won. When and where? I asked. There's a coffee shop in Glendale, Bricks and Brews. Can you meet me there in an hour? I'll be there. I finished up at the job site, drove to Glendale, found the coffee shop. Jessica was already there, exactly as she'd looked in her photos. Early 30s, put together, the kind of competence that came from surviving something difficult. Thanks for meeting me, she said as I sat down. You said there were things I should know. Yes. She pulled out her phone, hesitated. First, I want to be clear. I'm not doing this to hurt Derek. I'm past that. I'm doing this because I saw what happened to your wife, and I recognize the pattern. What pattern? Derek doesn't have affairs. He has campaigns, targeted, strategic, calculated. He finds women who are successful, stable, slightly dissatisfied with their current situation, usually married or in long-term relationships. He positions himself as the alternative, the exciting option, the person who sees them as more than just a wife or girlfriend. That's pretty standard affair behavior. But here's the thing. It's never really about the women. It's about proving he can. It's about the challenge, the conquest, the validation. Once they're emotionally invested, once they've risked something for him, he gets bored and moves on. She pulled up screenshots on her phone, text messages similar in tone to the ones that had leaked from Claire's phone. These are from when we were together. I didn't find them until after we'd broken up. Turns out while he was engaged to me, he was also involved with a client from his previous gym, married woman, successful career, told her the same things he probably told your wife. What happened to her? She left her husband, lost custody of her kids in the process because her ex had documented everything. Derek was supportive for about 2 months, then suddenly wasn't available anymore. Last I heard, she'd moved to Arizona to start over. I stared at the messages. Why are you telling me this? Because I saw the thread. I saw your wife's messages. And I recognized the exact same phrasing Derek used with the woman before me. The same patterns, the same promises, the same manipulation. You think Claire was being manipulated? I think Derek is very good at making women feel like they're special, like they're understood in a way they've never been before. And I think he's equally good at disappearing the moment things get complicated. She set down her phone. The thread that went viral? Derek's been silent since it posted. No response, no defense, nothing. Want to know why? Why? Because he's already moving on, already identifying his next target, already rewriting the narrative in his head where he's the victim of a crazy situation rather than the architect of it. Trevor, his business partner, was the one who leaked everything. I know. I talked to Trevor yesterday. He's planning to buy Derek out of Elevation Studio, rebrand it, distance himself from the whole situation. He's angry at Derek for creating liability, but he's angrier at himself for not seeing the pattern sooner. There were other incidents. 3 different clients over 2 years, all married or partnered, all successful, all ended badly when the women left their relationships and Derek suddenly had cold feet. Trevor knew about one of them, suspected the others, but kept quiet because the business was profitable. I leaned back, processing. So Claire wasn't the first. She wasn't even the second. She was just the one where everything became public. Jessica's expression softened slightly. I'm not saying she didn't make choices. She did. But I am saying she probably didn't understand what she was choosing. Derek is exceptionally good at making people think they're choosing him, when really he's orchestrating the whole thing. Why didn't you expose him before? Because I was embarrassed, ashamed. I felt stupid for falling for it. And honestly, part of me blamed myself. Maybe if I'd been more exciting, more interesting, he wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. She met my eyes. But then I saw what happened to your wife, and I realized Derek doesn't do this because the women aren't enough. He does it because he needs constant validation, constant proof that he can take things that don't belong to him. I sat there in the coffee shop, surrounded by the hum of normal conversation, and felt something shift in my understanding. I'd been focused on Claire's betrayal, on the lies and the choices and the months of deception. I'd wanted her to feel exposed, vulnerable, aware of consequences, mission accomplished, but I'd been thinking about it as Claire and Rook as equal participants in mutual deception. What if it wasn't mutual? What if Claire had been as manipulated as she'd been manipulating me? What do you want me to do with this information? I asked Jessica. I don't want you to do anything. I just wanted you to have the full picture. What you choose to do with it is up to you. Claire's career is probably done. Her reputation is destroyed. Her life is in pieces. I know, and that's not your fault. But maybe, she hesitated, maybe the person who deserves the most consequences isn't her. Maybe it's Derek. He's already suffering. His business is failing. His reputation is destroyed. For now, but guys like Derek are good at recovery. They move to a new city, start over, find new targets. They're resilient because they have no real attachment to anything. It's all performance. So what would real consequences look like? I don't know, but I thought you should know who you were really dealing with. Not just a guy who had an affair with your wife, but someone who does this systematically, repeatedly, without care for the damage he causes. She stood up. I'm sorry about your marriage, she said. Whether Claire was manipulated or not, she still made choices that hurt you. That's real. But maybe understanding the full context helps somehow. She left. I sat there for another 20 minutes, coffee going cold, thinking about patterns and manipulation and whether understanding changed anything. Claire had still lied, still chosen him, still made me feel invisible. But maybe she'd been invisible to him too. Just another conquest, another validation, another temporary distraction before he moved on. Did that change what she'd done? No. Did it change how I felt about it? Maybe. Did it change what I wanted to do next? I didn't know yet. My phone buzzed. Text from Claire. I'm at the house, getting my things. I'll be gone before you're home. I stared at the message, then typed, Don't leave yet. We need to talk. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I don't think that's a good idea. I know, but I met someone today. Someone who knew Rook before you, and there are things you should hear. Long pause. What things? Meet me for coffee. Neutral ground. 1 conversation. Then you can leave if you want. Another pause. Where? I told her. Then I called Mark. I need you to find someone for me, I said. Another of Rook's ex-clients. Jessica mentioned 3 different women over 2 years. I need to know if any of them are willing to talk. Why? Because I want to know if Claire was his only target or part of a pattern. And if it's a pattern, then maybe the person who deserves the most consequences isn't the one I've been focusing on. Ethan, what are you planning? I'm not sure yet, but I think the game just changed. Claire met me at the coffee shop 2 hours later. She looked exhausted, eyes red, hair pulled back, wearing clothes that looked slept in. We sat outside at a small table, neither of us ordering anything. Talk, she said quietly. I told her about Jessica, about the pattern, about the other women, the same phrasing, the strategic targeting of married, successful women as validation rather than genuine connection. She listened without interrupting, her expression cycling through disbelief, recognition, and something that looked like grief. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. So I was just... What? A target? Another conquest? Her voice was hollow. According to Jessica, yeah, one of several. He told me I was special, that he'd never connected with anyone like this before, that I was different from his other clients. He probably said the same thing to all of them. She covered her face with her hands. I'm so stupid. You're not stupid. You're human, and he's apparently very good at this. That doesn't excuse what I did. No, it doesn't. She looked up at me. Why are you telling me this? You've spent weeks making my life difficult, making sure I felt exposed and afraid and aware of consequences. Why help me understand now? Because I wanted you to see what you'd done, and now you do. But I also wanted to understand why. Why you'd risk everything, our marriage, your career, your reputation, for someone you barely knew. And maybe this is why. Maybe you weren't choosing him as much as he was choosing you. That doesn't make it better. No, but it makes it different. Silence stretched between us. My boss hasn't called back, Claire said finally. I'm pretty sure I'm done at the company. HR's probably building a case to terminate. I'm sorry. Are you? After everything? Yeah, I wanted you to understand consequences. I didn't necessarily want your career destroyed. Could have fooled me. Claire, I didn't leak those messages. I didn't create that thread. Trevor did that because he was trying to protect his investment. I just stopped being invisible long enough for people to notice the truth. It feels the same from where I'm sitting. I know. More silence. What happens now? She asked. I don't know, but I think Rook needs to face more consequences than just a failing business. If he's been doing this systematically, to multiple women, destroying relationships and lives for his own validation, someone needs to hold him accountable. How? I'm working on that. She studied me. You're different since all this started. Harder, colder. People adapt to survive. Or they become something they're not. Maybe those are the same thing. She stood up. I should go, finish packing, find somewhere to stay long term. The house is yours too. Not anymore. Not really. She looked at me one more time. For what it's worth, I am sorry. Not just sorry I got caught. Sorry for what I did, for how I treated you, for making you invisible while telling myself it was fine. Thank you. But I don't think sorry fixes this. No, it doesn't. She walked away. I sat there for another hour, making phone calls. First to Mark. Did you find any of the other women? One. Her name's Angela Diaz. She was hesitant to talk, but I mentioned it was about Derek Rook, and she changed her tune. Said she'd meet with you if you're serious about holding him accountable. Set it up. Second call to Trevor. We need to talk. About your buyout of Elevation Studio and what happens to Rook after. His voice was guarded. Why would I talk to you? Because you want him out of your business and your life, and I can help make sure he doesn't land on his feet somewhere else to repeat the pattern. Pause. What are you proposing? Meet me. Tonight. I'll explain. Third call to Lena. I need a favor. A big one. What kind? The kind where you use your connections and social media skills to make sure certain information reaches the right people. Information about Rook? About his pattern. Multiple women. Multiple destroyed relationships. A history that's bigger than just Claire. You're going scorched earth. I'm going truthful. There's a difference. Is there? Yeah. One is destruction for destruction's sake. The other is making sure people know who they're really dealing with. Okay. What do you need? I met Trevor at a bar in downtown, neutral territory, public enough to feel safe, but private enough to talk. He looked tired, stressed, younger than his 36 years in this moment. What do you want? He asked as I sat down. I want Rook out. Not just out of the studio, out of the fitness industry entirely, out of a position where he can keep targeting vulnerable women. I'm buying him out. That gets him away from my business. But not away from the next woman, or the one after that. Jessica says he's done this at least 3 times in 2 years. How many more women before someone stops him permanently? That's not my problem. It became your problem when you invested in his business, when you looked the other way while he created liability, when you finally leaked everything to save yourself. His jaw tightened. What do you want from me? Documentation, everything you have on his behavior with clients, complaints that were buried, reviews that were deleted, incidents that were handled quietly to avoid reputation damage. Why? Because I'm building a case, not legal, I'm not a lawyer, but public. A comprehensive record of his pattern so that anyone who searches his name finds the truth, so that no future employer hires him, no future client trusts him, no future woman falls for the same manipulation. Trevor was quiet, considering. You're destroying him, he finally said. I'm documenting who he already is. The destruction is just people seeing clearly. And what do I get out of this? Distance, complete separation. Your name stays clean because you're cooperating with exposing the truth. You become the business partner who did the right thing when he found out. That's spin. That's accurate. You did expose it, just for selfish reasons. This way those reasons look noble. He almost smiled. You're more strategic than I gave you credit for. I've had practice. Okay, I'll send you everything I have. Files, emails, documented complaints. But I want assurance this doesn't blow back on me. It won't. Your involvement ends with providing documentation. The rest is on me. We shook on it. Friday morning, I met Angela Diaz at a park in Silver Lake. She was in her early 40s, professional-looking, the kind of quiet competence that came from rebuilding after collapse. Thank you for meeting with me, I said. Jessica vouched for you, said you were trying to hold Derek accountable. I am. Good, someone should. She settled onto the park bench. What do you want to know? Everything. How it started, how it ended, what he said, what he did. She told me her story. It matched Jessica's almost exactly. Targeted attention, careful cultivation of emotional intimacy, promises of understanding she'd never found in her marriage. Then sudden distance when she actually left her husband for him. I lost custody of my daughter, she said quietly. My ex-husband had documented everything, photos of me at Derek's gym, screenshots of messages, witness statements from people who'd seen us together. The judge called me an unfit mother who prioritized her affair over her child. I'm sorry. I blamed myself for years. Thought it was my fault for being weak, for falling for his act. But then I heard about what happened with your wife, and I realized it wasn't weakness. It was manipulation by someone who's very good at what he does. Would you be willing to go public? Share your story with others? She hesitated. I've rebuilt my life. I have a job now, some custody rights restored. Going public could jeopardize that. I understand. But if there were a way to share your experience without identifying details, while still making the pattern clear, would you consider it? Long pause. Yes, she finally said. If it stops him from doing this to someone else, yes. By Friday evening, I had everything. Trevor's documentation, 14 months of complaints, 4 incidents of inappropriate behavior, emails from Rook discussing how to handle women who were getting too attached, Angela's story, written anonymously, Jessica's account with timeline, Claire's situation, the most public, most documented. I compiled it all, not emotional, factual. Derek Rook has a pattern of targeting married, successful women, cultivating inappropriate relationships with clients, disappearing when inconvenient, leaving destruction. I sent it to Lena. This is comprehensive, she texted. You're sure? Yeah. Once I post this, no taking it back. His name will be permanently associated with this. Good, that's the point. Give me an hour. 63 minutes later, Lena posted a thread. It started simple. Time to talk about pattern versus incident. Then she laid it all out. Trevor's documentation, Angela's story, Jessica's experience, Claire's situation, 4 women, 2 years, same tactics, same destruction. She ended, "This isn't about revenge. This is about awareness. Know who you're trusting with your vulnerability." The thread went viral within 2 hours. Comments flooded in, other women sharing experiences, industry people confirming rumors, journalists asking interviews. Derek Rook's name became synonymous with manipulation. His Instagram went private, then deleted. His phone number changed. By Monday morning, Elevation Studio had a permanently closed sign. I sat in my truck across the street, watching the empty building, and felt something settle in my chest. Not satisfaction, not victory, just completion. The invisible husband had made everyone see. The underdog had become the threat they should have noticed all along, and the man who'd built his life on making women feel invisible had learned what it felt like to be truly seen. My phone buzzed. Text from Claire. I saw Lena's post. "Is this over now?" I thought about the question. Was it over? The marriage? Yes. That had been over months ago. The revenge, maybe. The anger? Probably not. But the invisibility? That was over. "Yeah," I typed. "It's over." What happens now? Lawyers. Divorce papers. Division of assets. The normal ending. Normal. Right. Claire. I hope you rebuild. Get your career back. Find someone who sees you without destroying everyone. That's generous. It's honest. You made terrible choices, but you got caught in a pattern you didn't fully understand. Both things can be true. Thank you. Take care. I set down the phone and looked at the empty studio one more time. Then I drove away. The end game had arrived, not with explosions or dramatic confrontations, just with truth, finally visible, for everyone to see. The week after Lena's thread went viral was quiet. No drama, just the slow collapse of carefully constructed lies. Wednesday, Mark called. Local Business Journal published an article. Pattern of misconduct forces closure. They interviewed 3 former clients. Trevor's quoted saying he had no knowledge and is separating from Rook. And Rook? Silent. Social media's gone. Website's down. He disappeared. Good. Claire called me. Wanted to know if you were okay. Asked if you'd be willing to talk. What did you say? That it was up to you. Maybe closure would be good. Tell her I'll meet her. One time. Public place. That evening, I got a text from Renee Walsh, Claire's former boss. I'd like to speak with you about Claire's situation. We met Thursday at a coffee shop in Century City. Claire submitted her resignation yesterday, Renee said. The situation became untenable. So she's done? In this company. In the industry, that depends on how she handles recovery. Why tell me? Because Claire needed constant validation. No matter how much positive feedback, it was never enough. Someone like Rook, who specializes in making people feel special, that would be irresistible. Doesn't excuse what she did. No, but it explains it. Claire wanted you to understand her behavior wasn't about you being insufficient. It was about her never feeling sufficient. She could have told me herself. She tried, but she didn't think you'd believe her. Renee stood to leave. Whatever you did to expose the situation, I'm not judging. But be careful the process doesn't change you into something you don't recognize. Friday evening, I met Claire at a park in Pasadena. She looked different, less polished, more real. Thank you for coming, she said, sitting at distance. Renee talked to you. Yeah, she said you resigned. It was time. And honestly, I don't want that world anymore. Constantly performing, needing validation from people who don't care. That's a big realization. I've been in therapy, 3 sessions. It's hard, confronting things I've avoided for years. She looked at me. None of this was about you being insufficient. You were a good husband, better than I deserved. But I was so caught up needing external validation that I couldn't appreciate what I had. And Rook provided that? Yes. Made me feel understood, special. But it was manipulation. I was too caught up in how it made me feel to see it. I wanted you to feel exposed, to understand being lied to, being invisible, and I got what I wanted. But now I just feel tired. I'm sorry for all of it. For the lying, the betrayal, making you feel crazy, and I'm sorry my apology doesn't fix anything. No, it can't. What happens now? Lawyers, divorce. We split assets, move on, the standard ending. We sat in silence. I hope you find someone who sees you, Claire said. Really sees you. And I hope you don't let what I did make you bitter. You started this as the good guy. Stay that person. I'll try. She stood. Thank you for meeting me. Take care, Claire. She walked away, and I felt nothing except relief it was over. 2 weeks later, Lena called. I'm having a party, she said. Another one? Yeah, but this one's different. This one's closure. I don't need closure. Maybe not. But I do. And so do a lot of people who've been following this whole situation. Her voice turned serious. Trevor's opening his new studio next month. Completely rebranded, new name, new image. He wants to make a statement that his business is nothing like what Rook was running. Good for him. He invited me to the opening event, soft launch, industry people, press, and he said I could bring guests. Why would I want to go to that? Because Claire's going to be there. That got my attention. Why? Trevor offered her a job. Not training, obviously, but helping with marketing and community outreach for the new studio. He figures having someone who publicly survived the Rook situation working for him sends a message. This business is different, values women, takes accountability seriously. That's cynical. That's smart business. And Claire needs work. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. Still doesn't explain why I should go? Because Rook is going to be there. I sat up. What? Not invited, but Trevor thinks he'll show up anyway. Rook's been silent for weeks, but Trevor's heard through mutual contacts that he's angry, feeling victimized, blaming everyone else for his situation. Trevor thinks he might crash the opening to cause a scene, try to salvage his reputation by making Trevor and Claire look like villains. So if he does show up, I want you there. Not to fight or cause drama, just to be there. To remind him that invisible people can see everything, that the underdog he underestimated is the reason his whole life fell apart. That's petty. That's closure. I thought about it. Part of me wanted to stay away, to let Trevor and Claire and Rook work out their own dynamics without me. But another part, the part that had spent months being invisible while people played games with my life, wanted to be there, wanted to see Rook's face when he realized the person he'd dismissed was the reason for his downfall. When is it? Saturday, 7 p.m. The new studio's in West Hollywood. I'll text you the address. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. This is your last chance to see the whole thing come full circle. Saturday arrived faster than I expected. I spent the day working on my truck, changing the oil, replacing worn brake pads. Physical work that cleared my head. By 6 p.m., I still hadn't decided whether to go. Then my phone buzzed. Text from Mark. You going to that studio opening? How do you know about it? Lena told me. Said she invited you. Also said Rook might show up. Probably not going. Why not? Because it feels like I'd be going just to watch people suffer. That's not who I want to be. Or maybe you'd be going to close the chapter, see that consequences are real and permanent, then walk away for good. I stared at that message. You think I should go? I think you've come this far. Might as well see it through to the actual end. At 6:45, I put on clean clothes and drove to West Hollywood. The new studio was called Ascent Fitness, obviously chosen to distance itself from elevation while maintaining the aspirational branding. The space was nice, bigger than Rook's place, modern design, lots of natural light. A crowd had gathered outside, maybe 60 people, industry folks, local influencers, a few reporters. Trevor was working the crowd, all professional smiles and confident handshakes. I spotted Lena near the entrance. She waved me over. You came, she said, against my better judgment. That's usually when the interesting stuff happens. She gestured inside. Claire's in there, helping with setup. She doesn't know you're coming. Should I tell her? Up to you, but I'd wait. See if Rook shows first. We went inside. The space was impressive. Top-end equipment, motivational quotes on the walls that weren't too cheesy, a smoothie bar in the corner. Everything Rook's studio had tried to be, but more polished, more professional. Claire was near the back, arranging promotional materials on a table. She looked focused, purposeful. When she glanced up and saw me, she froze for a moment. Then nodded once, acknowledging my presence without making a scene. Trevor was giving a speech near the front. Something about new beginnings, community values, creating a space where everyone felt respected and safe. Standard opening remarks, but delivered with enough sincerity that people seemed to believe him. The event flowed smoothly. People mingled, tried out equipment, asked questions about memberships. Trevor introduced Claire as part of his team, and she handled questions professionally, no hint of her recent public exposure except maybe a guardedness in her eyes. By 8:30, I was thinking Lena had been wrong. Rook wasn't going to show. He was probably somewhere else, licking his wounds, trying to rebuild far from the scene of his downfall. Then the door opened, and there he was. Derek Rook walked in like he owned the place. Same confident stride, same calculated casual style, but with an edge now. Something harder, angrier beneath the performance. The room's energy shifted immediately. Conversation stopped. People turned to look. Trevor saw him, and his expression went carefully neutral. Professional. "Derek," Trevor said, crossing toward him. "I didn't realize you were coming." "I wasn't invited," Rook's voice carried across the room. "But I heard about your grand opening. Thought I'd stop by and see what you built with my business." "Your business failed because of your choices. This is something new. Built on my foundation, my vision, my clients." Rook looked around the room, saw the people watching, and raised his voice slightly. "Funny how that works. I make one mistake, and suddenly everyone wants to distance themselves. Act like I'm toxic while they profit from everything I created. Derek, this isn't the place." "This is exactly the place." Rook spotted Claire near the back. "And there she is, the woman who destroyed my reputation. Tell me, Claire, how does it feel working for my ex-partner after getting me canceled?" Claire's face went pale, but she didn't respond. Rook took a step toward her. "You want to talk about inappropriate behavior? About crossing boundaries? You were the one who came to me. You were the one who said your marriage was empty, that you needed someone who understood you. I was just providing a service." "That's not true," Claire said quietly. "No? Then explain the messages. Explain Thursday nights at hotel bars. Explain how you lied to your husband for months while pretending I was the villain." "You manipulated her," I said, stepping forward. Everyone turned. Rook saw me for the first time, standing near the entrance with Lena. "Of course. The husband," Rook's smile was ugly. "Come to watch your wife play victim? Come to see me humiliated one more time?" "No, I came to remind you of something." "What's that?" I walked closer, maintaining steady eye contact. "That invisible people can see everything. You thought I was too stupid, too trusting, too busy to notice what was happening. You thought you could play games with my life while keeping yours clean and safe. But you forgot that when people are invisible, they can watch without being watched. They can see patterns, gather information, apply pressure without ever crossing legal lines. You destroyed my business. No, you destroyed your business by making the same choices over and over with different women. I just made sure everyone could see what you were already doing, the pattern that was already there." Rook's face flushed. "You think you're some kind of hero. You systematically applied pressure, filed complaints, gathered information like you were building a case. You manipulated the situation just as much as I did." "Maybe, but I wasn't lying to anyone. I wasn't making promises I didn't intend to keep. I wasn't targeting vulnerable people for my own validation." Claire wasn't vulnerable. She was a willing participant. She was someone you identified as needing validation and deliberately cultivated. That's not the same as willing participant. That's predatory behavior dressed up as mutual attraction. Rook took another step toward me, close enough now that I could see the desperation in his eyes beneath the anger. Trevor moved to intercept, but I held up a hand. "Let him come," I said. "Let him show everyone what he really is when he can't manipulate or charm his way out." Rook stopped a few feet away. Up close, he looked worse than I'd realized. Tired, stressed, the polish cracking to reveal desperation underneath. "You think you won?" he said, voice low but carrying in the quiet room. "You think you got revenge, made everyone see the truth, came out as the hero? But look at what it cost. Your marriage is over. Your wife's career is damaged. You turned yourself into someone cold and calculating. You became the thing you hated." "Maybe, but at least I'm not pretending anymore. At least I don't have to maintain a performance every single day. I can just be honest about who I am and what I'm feeling. Can you say the same?" Rook stared at me, and I watched his confidence crumble in real time. The realization that he had no control here, no angle to work, no way to spin this into anything except what it was, public acknowledgement of his failures. "You're right," he finally said, and his voice had lost its edge. "I manipulated her, manipulated all of them, because it made me feel powerful, important, valuable, because I needed constant validation and thought taking things from other people would fill that empty space inside me." He looked around the room at the watching faces. "Happy? Is that the confession everyone wanted?" "It's a start," I said. "What now? You want me to apologize? To grovel? To disappear so everyone can feel good about themselves while pretending they're better than me? I want you to understand that actions have consequences, that you can't build a life on taking from others without eventually losing everything yourself, that invisible people you dismiss can see everything and will eventually make everyone else see it too. Understood. His voice was bitter. Message received, lesson learned. Can I go now, or do you want to humiliate me further? You're free to leave any time. He looked at Trevor. Good luck with your new business. Hope you learned from my mistakes. Then he looked at Claire. I'm sorry, for what it's worth. I'm sorry I made you believe something that wasn't real. And finally, he looked at me. You got what you wanted. Everyone sees now. I hope it was worth it. He walked toward the exit. The crowd parted. Just before he reached the door, he stopped and turned back. One more thing, he said, looking at me. You're right that invisible people can see everything, but you're wrong if you think that makes you better than me. We both manipulated people to get what we wanted. The only difference is you convinced yourself it was justified. Then he left. The room was silent for a long moment. Then slowly, conversations resumed. People returned to their drinks, their equipment demonstrations, their networking. Life moved on, as it always did, flowing around drama like water around stone. Trevor approached me. Thank you for being here, and for handling that without it becoming violent. I wasn't going to fight him. I never was. I know, that's what made it more effective. He paused. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Exposing the pattern, making sure people knew who they were dealing with. Did I? Or did I just become another manipulator using information as a weapon? Maybe both. Maybe that's what accountability looks like sometimes. Not clean or noble, just necessary. Claire approached cautiously. You came. Lena convinced me. I'm glad, not for the confrontation. Just, I'm glad you saw that he finally admitted what he did, that it wasn't all in your head or paranoia or whatever I tried to convince you it was. Yeah. What he said at the end, about you becoming a manipulator too. Do you think that's true? I thought about the past month. The city complaints, the anonymous inquiries, the systematic pressure applied from multiple angles. Maybe, but I prefer to think of it as leveling the playing field. You both had information and control. I just made sure I had some too. That's fair. She looked around the studio. This is weird, isn't it? All of us in one place. The ex-husband, the wife, the lover's business partner, all pretending to be civilized. Life is weird. Yeah, she almost smiled. Take care, Ethan. You too. I left the studio and walked to my truck. I drove home through Saturday night Los Angeles, city lights blurring past, radio playing songs I wasn't really hearing. When I got back to the house, my house now, not ours, I sat in the driveway for a few minutes before going inside. The past month replayed in my head. The party where everything started, the confrontations, the pressure applied carefully, systematically, the public exposure, the consequences. And now this, closure that didn't feel like closure. Just an ending that came quietly, without the satisfaction I'd expected. I went inside. The house was dark, empty, exactly as I'd left it. My phone buzzed. Text from Mark. How'd it go? Rook showed up, admitted everything, then said I was just another manipulator who convinced himself he was justified. Was he wrong? I stared at that question for a long time. I don't know, I finally typed. Maybe not. You going to be okay? Eventually. Good. That's all that matters. I set down the phone and looked around my house. Our house. The place where a marriage had slowly collapsed while I pretended not to notice, then explosively ended when I forced everyone to see. Rook had been right about one thing. I'd gotten what I wanted. Everyone had seen. Claire understood what she'd done. Rook faced consequences. The invisible husband had made himself very, very visible. But the cost was higher than I'd calculated. Not just the marriage. That was already gone. But something inside me had changed. The part that trusted easily, that believed the best in people, that tried to fix things rather than expose them. That part was gone now, replaced by something colder, more calculating, more willing to hurt if it meant not being hurt first. Was that growth, or just damage wearing a different name? I didn't have an answer. My phone buzzed again. Text from Lena. You left without saying goodbye. Needed to process. Fair. Rook's meltdown was intense. Thanks for not making it physical. That was never the plan. I know, that's why it worked. Pause then. So it's really over now? The whole thing? Yeah, it's over. How do you feel? I looked around my empty house, thought about my empty marriage, considered my very full awareness of what people were capable of when they thought no one was watching. Tired, I typed. Just really tired. That's fair. Get some rest. You earned it. Did I? Yeah, you did. Not everyone gets to be the underdog who wins. I set down the phone and walked through the house. Our bedroom? The kitchen where we'd had surface conversations. The living room where I'd sat in darkness while she was at the gym, or the office, or the hotel bar. Every room held memories of the life we'd built and the lies that had undermined it. Tomorrow, I'd call a lawyer, start the divorce process officially, begin the practical work of separating two lives that had been tangled together for 6 years. But tonight, I just sat in the dark living room with the TV off and the house quiet, and thought about endings, about how they never come with the satisfaction you expect, how closure is just a word people use to make themselves feel better, about things that can't actually be closed, how moving forward isn't triumphant or vindicated. It's just putting one foot in front of the other until eventually you're somewhere new. The underdog had won. The invisible husband had been seen. The manipulated had become the manipulator, and none of it felt the way I'd thought it would. But it was done. Finally, completely, irreversibly done. I sat there until dawn started filtering through the windows, painting everything in shades of gray that slowly warmed to gold. Then I stood up, poured coffee, started planning my day, job sites to visit, repairs to complete, systems to maintain, normal life, regular work, the steady rhythm of fixing things that could actually be fixed. The house behind me held everything that had been, the day ahead held everything that would be, and I walked forward into it, tired and changed and uncertain, but no longer invisible.